Hello guys, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto was never loved and become the most feared legend in history? If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comment. And also check the description box to original creator of this beautiful creation. So let us start the story.
Uzumaki Naruto was awoken from what he considered his most unusual dream to date. The city that was burning and the warrior he was following all seemed so real. Every fight and every noise was so real that if Naruto hadn't known better, he would have believed he was in a full-blown battle. Naruto saw the blonde-haired warrior fall as the arrow struck his heel. He wondered why that would be fatal to the warrior, but seeing as this was a dream, he accepted it. He watched and listened as he said his last words to his killer. Naruto had an odd feeling when he woke, as though he had stumbled onto some great mystery. He shrugged it aside for the time being. As he fell asleep however, he felt the tug of his tenant. What does it want now? Naruto said before drifting into the recesses of his mind. Naruto walked down the damp corridor to the great cage of the almighty furball. Hello again Gaki. Any guesses as to why I have called you here? To try to get me to destroy Konoha like you always do. You should know by now that I don't have any interest in doing so. Well, I was planning on doing that later, but for now I have more important things to worry about. The man you saw in your dream, you should learn more about him. He did exist and what you saw were his last moments. Tomorrow, go searching for a book called the Iliad. It holds the answers you seek. And with that, the great demon curled into a ball and prepared to go to sleep. Wait, why are you helping me? You're pure evil, why would you want to help me? I have my reasons Gaki, now leave. Kyuubi said. With that rebuke, Naruto was left to dream ordinary, happy dreams of Sakura feeding him miso ramen. Next morning, Team 7 was waiting at the usual place on the bridge. Sasuke was doing his emo brood routine, and Sakura was desperately trying to get a date out of him. The third, usually energetic and happy member of their team was not acting in his usual manner however. Instead of bouncing around enjoying the beginning of another day, he was reading. Sasuke raised an eyebrow at this, but let it pass. He honestly didn't care what the dobi did. So long as it didn't hinder him, he could care less. Sakura on the other hand was intrigued. She was more of a scholar than the Uchiha and could tell the book was old, extremely old. What are you reading Naruto? She asked, for once genuinely intrigued at something related to Naruto. It's called the Iliad. It's about a great warrior, his name was Achilles. Naruto responded, never taking his eyes from the page. He had arrived at the point where Achilles was about to die. What had the blonde irked was that the events of the epic were almost identical to those in his dream. For another 3 hours the team sat like that, waiting for their sensei who would only show up on time for an Icha book signing, and even then, he'd barely get there in time. Sorry Team I, liar, Sakura screamed out. I didn't even get to make an excuse. Kakashi said. That's when he noticed something was wrong with the picture before him. He ran through his checklist. Sasuke brooding, check. Sakura trying to get said person to go out with her, check. Naruto reading, check. Wait what, Naruto's reading? Kakashi was confused. Naruto, what are you reading? If you think it's one of your perverted books you're wrong. It's a legend, Naruto said quickly, wanting to reach the end of the book. Kakashi simply noted the abnormality and continued on. Well whatever, glad to see you branching out into literature. Anyways we have a new mission. You guys have done well so I got us a C rank. We are going to be investigating a small group of bandits that are apparently capable of using some basic jutsu. We are going to try to avoid combat. Be at the Konoha gate in 2 hours. Dismissed. Kakashi poofed away leaving a small cloud of smoke behind. Naruto finally fell back into his usual self at his statement. Yata, AC rank. Now I'm even closer to Hokage. Naruto yelled. Gra, quiet Naruto baka. Sakura swatted him over the head and headed home to pack. Sasuke and Naruto promptly did the same. 6 hours later, the team set up camp. Sakura had been wondering something all day. Why on earth was Naruto reading that book? She had checked into it before she left, and was astonished at his choice. She decided to simply ask him about. She approached him while he was still doing the tree climbing exercise Kakashi had assigned to them earlier. She had already nailed it, but Sasuke and Naruto were having slightly more trouble. Sasuke was about 3/4 of the way up the tree and Naruto had his top mark just under that. However, the two appeared to be taking a break, although Sasuke looked a hell of a lot worse than Naruto did. She had always wondered where the blonde got his stamina from. In addition to that, Naruto didn't have a mark on him. Sasuke had cuts, bruises, and scratches of every kind. It was weird, but Sakura already had on question to ponder. Naruto, why were you reading that book? Oh hi Sakura-chan, if I tell you, do you think you could give me some pointers on this damn exercise? I just can't get it down. Sure, just tell me why you were reading it. Well, I had the weirdest dream last night, and it was centered around the end of the book. I actually watched it. He was unstoppable for the most part. I saw him rip at least 7 men to shreds without a single seal. The dream felt so real, and I wondered who the guy was. Then I got a good tip from. Naruto stopped, not knowing how to explain the next part. Yahoo! Sakura asked. An acquaintance of mine. He doesn't matter. Anyway, he told me to look into the book, so I dug around and found a copy. What's eerie about the whole thing is that the book ends just like the dream did. He rushes to this girl, gets shot in the heel, which for some reason is fatal. I guess that's where the saying, Achilles' heel, came from, nay? That really is odd. I've never heard of anything like that. Anyway, as for the exercise, the trick is to focus on how much chakra is in your foot beforehand. I just focused the necessary amount in, and kept the flow of chakra steady. Quote, thanks. Naruto got up and tried it, and managed to nearly reach the top of the tree. Sasuke instantly got up and kept going, duplicating Naruto's efforts using the information he overheard. This training would continue on for 3 days, until they reached the bandit camp. 4 days later. This is Cyclops to Pinky. Report. I'm in position. Pinky to Avenger. What's your status? In position. Whiskers? Sasuke said Naruto's codename with a slight smirk. He thought it was hilarious. I hate that damn name. Yeah, I'm in position. Team 7 and their Cycloptic sensei were all well hidden, quietly observing the bandit camp. They would do this for 5 hours, then leave for Konoha to report back. It was exciting at first, but eventually it got boring as hell. The bandits didn't do much. They played cards, told jokes, and ghost stories. However, after 4.5 hours, things finally started getting interesting. One of the bandits began talking about their leader. Apparently, he was a missing nin, although the bandit did not identify his village of origin. The leader was supposed to be very strong. However, upon hearing the name, Kakashi decided it would be a damn good idea to get the hell out of there. The nin's name was Yakashazi Karato. His village of origin was the Rock, and although he held no allegiance to them, no nin from the Rock liked Leaf Nin. Alone, Kakashi might have been able to handle him, but his genin were a liability. He would have to protect them, which would leave him vulnerable to attack, a risk he wouldn't take. Guys, let's head home. We do not want to get caught by this guy. He's good. Well above you, and with you here it would be unwise for me to engage him. We will report his presence and let Anbu forces take him out. Kakashi whispered into his microphone. Too late, copycat. Kakashi felt a kunai against his neck. I'm afraid you were a little lax. Karato slit Kakashi's throat only to have it turn into a smoke puff. A bunchin. Damn. Meanwhile, Kakashi and his team were sprinting, hoping to get the hell away. Kakashi knew that if the bandits and Karato found them, they were screwed. Even if Kakashi managed to win against Karato, the bandits had some skill and would prove a problem if he had no energy left, and his beating Karato wasn't a sure thing. He was ranked in the bingo book, and well known for a bloodline that let him control Earth to a certain degree. He could produce the results of many Doden Jutsu simple by willing it. That meant the Sharingan was of limited use. Kakashi felt a minor tremor beneath his feet. Jump, Kakashi ordered. His team leapt into the air. Then the ground exploded and beneath it was Karato, surrounded by rock stalagmites. Hey Leaf Nin, this will be fun. I love getting vengeance for my father. Karato smiled. Kakashi, Sakura, and Sasuke all took damage, although it was minor from the explosion, but Naruto had somehow managed to jump high enough to clear the range of the blast, although a few rocks hit him. Karato wasted no time using his bloodline to call forth quicksand, which trapped Kakashi when he landed in it. Damn, we are really screwed. Kakashi thought. He analyzed the situation. He's up against an opponent who, before becoming a nuke nin, was on par with Kakashi. Now, after years of learning techniques from other nuke nin and developing his own skills, he was probably a hell of a lot stronger. Kakashi's trump card had little use since the majority of Kirato's techniques used no hand seals and needed no names. Now he was trapped because by quicksand, while his team was left to face a potentially S-rank threat. Kakashi made a note to update the bingo book if they escaped, and his group of subordinates. In other words, his situation was crap. Well, all that's left are your brats, Kakashi. What shall we do him? Let's start with the pink-haired one. Kurato sent a rock flying at her. While she managed to dodge to avoid a lethal hit, she was knocked unconscious by the blow. Bastard! Naruto screamed. He charged forward, only to blown back a smaller version of the earlier Earth explosion. Naruto got up and performed his favorite technique, the Cage Bunshin. Kurato was surprised that a genin could perform a Junin-level jutsu. He took note of the 10 clones now surrounding him. 10 clones? Not bad, Kurato thought. He performed one of his own jutsu, knowing Kakashi's eye was still covered. Doden! Rock Typhoon! He cried. Around him, a whirlwind of rock stalagmites, mud, and stones was kicked up, destroying the clones. When it cleared, Kurato was gone. What the hell was that? Naruto said, shocked that anyone could produce such a technique. Never hesitate. Kurato said from behind Naruto. How did you get behind me? Naruto asked. He was scarred. He'd never seen so much power before. Gaki, this kind of speed is nothing. He was going to say more and then kill the blonde, but another voice interjected. Kaden. Housenka no Jutsu. Sasuke cried, spitting out a plume of fireballs toward Kurato in an attempt to save his teammate. Kurato simply laughed at the pathetic attempt and brought up a wall of stone around himself. As Sasuke appeared right above him, he realized his mistake of assuming that the genin's attack was just a simple strike. At this point, Kurato switched his focus onto Sasuke, while Naruto moved to get Sakura to safety. Kaden. Gokyakyu no Jutsu. Sasuke called out his second technique. This one is good, Kurato thought as he dodged the blast. However, he noticed the fireball wasn't aimed at him. It was aimed at the quicksand pool. Is he insane? His sensei wouldn't survive that. He then noticed that Kakashi had sunk himself beneath the quicksand as the blast hit. The quicksand quickly hardened from the intense heat, and while Kakashi suffered some bad burns, he was okay. He burst out of the now dried quicksand and threw a single shuriken at the rock nuke nin. Cage Shuriken no Jutsu. Kakashi produced a storm of shuriken from a single one. Kurato was again surprised, but he again relied on his bloodline to block them. A wall of stone blocked each of the shadow shuriken, but when Kurato found his left hip impaled by another one, he realized the trick. You're better than I thought, Kakashi. But really, I would have thought you could do better. One shuriken, oh the agony. Kurato was laughing. Check it again. Kakashi said right before the shuriken, embedded in Kirato's leg, exploded. Already noticed it. Exploding tag, not bad. Too bad you only hit the bunshin. Kurato said from behind Kakashi, kunai at the Junin's neck. I had one of my special rock bunshin ready before I engaged you. When I saw your attack, I knew it was too obvious for the genius copycat. So I switched with the clone and used my bloodline from here to make you think you were attacking the real me. With that, Kurato slashed Kakashi's neck right open, only to have it turn into a load of stones. Damn, a rock bunshin. Kurato swore and hid. Kakashi was good, but no one could have seen the bunshin that quickly, at least no one without a special ace. God damn Sharingan eyes. Well hidden by several invisibility and hiding genjutsu, someone was watching the whole battle. Two swords hung at his sides, his hands not far from them as he observed the combatants. From afar, he judged his target. Not bad, good bloodline on him, he relies on it way too much though. If I get him in the air, it's over. I wonder if I can save the other four. His bandits will be here soon, and I'm guessing they are more than they appear. Well, why bother asking myself when I can get the answer, right? His eyes turned gray, and he focused on Kurato. He learned everything there was to know about him in an instant, and saw the end of the battle. Looks like I'll be stepping in. The spectator also gained insight as to the skill level of the bandits. Damn, these leaf nen are lucky. All chunin are higher. Talk about bad intel. I wonder if Konoha would pay more for their heads. The stranger pulled a strange, unusual weapon off his back, a bow and arrow. The bow silver and had an odd glow to it. He knocked an arrow, a golden arrow that radiated heat, and aimed. Distance, obstacles, wind, humidity, target size, wait for the shot, perfect. He fired. Earlier, Kakashi was staring intently at his opponent from the bush he had hidden in. Come on, damn it, drop your guard. Kakashi was thankful that Naruto's concern for his crush had overridden his attitude and need to kick ass, and also thankful that Sasuke had realized this opponent was beyond him, and had done what was sensible. Kakashi was disappointed in Sakura, but he let it pass. He was lucky as it was. Come on. At that point, Kurado turned and stared right at him. Oh shish. Kakashi couldn't even finish before he was trapped in a cocoon of solid, unbreakable stone. Even his face was covered. A good run, Kakashi, but your Sharingan can't get you out of this. And your brats sure as hell aren't going to. My bandits were trained by me personally. Each one could wipe the floor with all 3 of your runs. But enough chat, time for you to die. Kurado began to compact the stone cocoon, and Kakashi was frantically trying to find a weakness, but not even his Chidori could get him out of this one. At least not without killing him in the process, which kind of made the whole thing mute anyway. Then, Kakashi heard this last thing he thought would be his last sound. Kurado screaming. What in the hell? Kurado saw the arrow fly right past him and into the stone cocoon, and literally vaporize the entire thing. Good question, Kakashi said, stepping out of what remained of his prison. Who should I thank for that? Not one of mine, Kakashi said. He picked up and inspected the arrow, noticing it to be an odd foreign weapon. What do we have here? You should thank me, Leaf. Who might you be? Kakashi asked, as the speaker stepped forward from behind Kurado. My name is my own for the time being. You're welcome on the rescue, by the way. You can keep the arrow, it's not as if you or anyone else can replicate it. The speaker said. He had long blonde hair, radiant blue eyes, and a wide grin on his face. He instantly reminded Kakashi of a certain genin. The black armor, the twin blades, and what Kakashi assumed to be the device that shot the arrow made him look a hell of a lot more menacing than the orange jumpsuit Naruto wore though. He was also no older than 14. Thanks? Kakashi responded, not sure what to make of this. Here was a kid no older than many genin and a few chunin, and he had just saved his ass. Don't mention it. If you don't mind taking care of Kurado, here's bandits. They are coming up from 11 o'clock. You and your genin should be able to handle them. I will take care of Kurado. The stranger said in a business fashion, although not haughty or rude, in fact it was kind of cheerful. Kid, just 'cause you beat down my shield you think you can take me? I'm an elite missing nin. What are you? You don't even have a forehead protector. And the armor doesn't scare me, nor do a few flashy weapons. Yakashazi Kurado, right? I was hired to kill you. I won't say whom, although I imagine you have a fair idea, although I am thinking that I can get a higher price on your head elsewhere. The stranger said to Kurado, glancing at Kakashi as he finished his statement. I'm going to give you one chance to walk away and tell the people who hired you to back off. Not happening. Kakashi, why are you still standing here? The bandits are going to be here any minute, and you might want to capture them. If I fight them, I will kill them, he stated matter-of-factly. Kakashi was really wondering about this kid, but contacted his team and sent them after the bandits. With Kakashi helping them along with Naruto's ability to double their numbers, they quickly won and came back to find the blonde-haired stranger and Kurado still talking. Aren't you going to, I don't know, attack me? I enjoy a good conversation. And to be honest, you aren't going to be much trouble, so I figure I should enjoy this and at least get to know the man I'm going to kill. You are a strange one. Well, if you don't mind, I warned you. No, I'm going to kill you. Be my guest, Yakashazi Kurado. The stranger said in a tone that basically seethed bad-assness. Sakura's thoughts. This guy's pretty cool, but not better than Sasuke. And told everyone that it was on. Kurado forced the ground beneath the stranger to erupt into sharp spikes. Kakashi had seen this before and was certain that they could easily impale anything in their way, including armor. Most of the spikes hit the armor and shattered, but Kurado had one aim for the stranger's head. He brought it right under the neck of the stranger. Give up, you're outclassed. My bloodline is unbeatable. First off, you have no idea who you are dealing with. Second, most bloodlines are about as useful as a balsa wood kunai against me. Die you little shit. Karato spat this out. He couldn't believe an idiotic little punk would insult him. He reached out for the rock spike at the boy's throat and thrust it upward. Instead of impaling the boy's neck, it too simply shattered. What are you made out of? Hey, like I said, you need more intel. I really should have sent a Myrmidon to deal with you. I was hoping you'd be fun, but you really on that bloodline more than I thought. I really gotta learn to use mom's gift a little better, I suppose. With that, the stranger blurred. Kakashi still had his Sharingan out, hoping to get some good techniques, but he couldn't follow the kid at all. He reappeared in front of Karato and, in one motion, drew his sword and cut off Kirato's head. Sakura threw up. Sasuke and Kakashi stood in shock, while Naruto came to a startling realization. His skin, Achilles had skin harder than any armor from being dipped into the river Styx. The stranger took the head and performed a basic jutsu to prevent decay on it, and turned to the group. Sorry if the mess bothers you, but I'm sure you, being shinobi, understand. Kakashi-san, would you mind telling me what the bounty is on Karato in Konoha? The hunter team sent after him would receive a rank commission, but for one person it's easily S rank. That's a hell of a lot more than Rock wanted. Cheap bastards. Mind if I tag along with you guys and collect on that? You can of course hold my weapons, although I'd like to keep the armor, which you can inspect. The stranger said. Kakashi was even more puzzled, but the stranger seemed to be willing to obey any precautions, so he didn't see why not. The stranger, however, had other thoughts. He had noticed Naruto's uncanny similarity to him, except the difference in hairstyle, but even that reminded him of someone he knew to be of relations. Later that night, the gang and their extra were gathered around a campfire cooking dinner. They had their hostages tied to a tree surrounded by extremely dangerous traps. Sasuke was doing a little more than his usual brooding. He was pissed. He had just watched a kid maybe a year older than him trash an opponent he would have been destroyed fighting. How did he get that strength? That's what I need to kill him, that and the eyes. Sasuke got up and walked over to him. Train me, or take me to someone who can. I need your power, Sasuke said. You wouldn't survive seeing my trainers, much less their regimens. The stranger responded. Do you know who I am? I am an elite Uchiha. I know and I don't care. Let me take a few guesses. You're want to kill Itachi, right? Well, you should give up on that. The stranger said calmly. Sasuke was angry. No. What do you know? I am an avenger. I have to get stronger and I will kill my brother. Sasuke had never known that kind of rage before, but something about the way the stranger said it made it sound like he believed killing Itachi was impossible. Calm down. I met Itachi once. Good fight, one of the few I didn't kill, but then, he ran into me. I wasn't hunting him. But trust me, I seriously doubt you could take him. You probably want to counter his Mangekyu by gaining it yourself, which is pointless because he will have better mastery over it anyway. Furthermore, his raw talent far surpasses your own. I will look into the outcome of your fight. With this, his eyes turned from blue to gray, and he stared quickly into the stars for a few minutes before responding. Just as I thought. You lose, badly. Kakashi had heard enough. No one could know this much without being a spy of some kind. Okay, just who in hell are you? Kakashi asked interrogatively. No one knows that much who isn't from Konoha. Are you a spy, an assassin? I want your story. Kakashi was on edge now. No need to get excited, Kakashi-san. My name is Kratos. It's a little hard to pronounce in this language, but try to say it. You are welcome to call me Kratos as need be. I am the leader of an elite unit of mercenaries, the Myrmidons. At this, Naruto stood up. As in, Achilles' unit? Kratos raised an eyebrow at this. How do you know that? Yes, that is who we based ourselves off of. But that tale is almost completely gone from this world. How do you know of it? This. Naruto pulled out his book and showed it to Kratos. I had an odd dream about a man I assumed to be Achilles, and I got some advice from a friend. Kakashi freaked at this. He knew who Naruto was talking about, and made a note to talk to Naruto about this, and he told me to look for a copy. I had to dig through vaults of old books, but I found it. The dream, describe it to me. Kratos said, urgency in his voice. Naruto went on to describe it in detail. Kratos listened intently, and at the end of Naruto's reiteration, he spoke. I don't believe it, Mother herself couldn't see it. How? I suppose it makes sense, the hair, the eyes. Kratos was rambling now. He had a look of great distress on his face. I need to test something. Come here, it won't hurt. Kakashi was hesitant, but before he could say anything Naruto was already in front of the other boy. Kratos placed his palm on Naruto's shoulder and his eyes went gray. And then a look of shock, followed by absolute joy came over his face. "It's you," he shouted. "Nani?" Naruto shouted, freaked out by the sudden outburst from the at one point calm boy. "I found you, brother." Brother. Needless to say, the team was shocked. Naruto just passed out. Sasuke looked up but didn't show much interest. "I'm better than all of them anyway," he thought. Sakura was surprised and asked Naruto's usual question for him. "Nani?" she asked, even managing to sound like Naruto as she said it. "Yeah, would you mind explaining?" Kakashi asked. Kratos began to pull himself together after giving his unconscious brother a very long hug. "Sorry, it's just my mother and we thought he was dead. I guess I can explain how it is that I am sure of our relation first off," Kratos said. His eyes went from radiant blue to a misty gray as he said this. "This is a bloodline of my family. I will not entrust all its secrets to you, but I will tell you that it grants a certain amount of omnipotence. I have no idea why it failed to show me Naruto before he was right in front of me, but I will think on that later. When we get back to Konoha you're going to have to give a better explanation than that," Kakashi said, dissatisfied. Kratos had only said that he had a bloodline and could easily be lying, so naturally, Kakashi did not trust him. "I am not finished. Our family goes very far back before it mingles into the gods themselves. Achilles, the hero of that legend, is my ancestor. Before he died, he impregnated a woman. Slowly, the family line continued through the ages, although it never formed a clan. Eventually, it reached my father. Natural combat instincts run in my family, along with a few other advanced traits. The Dujutsu is a new addition. Accelerated healing and a sturdier body are just a few. So it wasn't Kyuubi," Kakashi thought. "I'm sure you've noticed that Naruto can take a beating like no one else and keep going, right? It's common in my family. Achilles had another trait that I am the first to regain. That would be, well, better to show you." Kratos took out a kunai and tossed it to Kakashi. "Throw it at my head, neck, wherever, so long as it's exposed skin." "Are you insane? I'm Hisajunin, it would go right through you," Sakura said. As she finished speaking, Kakashi threw. He had seen the effect the rock spike had on Kratos and had his suspicions. Must be some kind of jutsu, right? He thought, but Kratos made no hand seals and showed no sign of dodging. As the kunai impacted, a thud was heard and the kunai bounced off. "Impossible. I put chakra into that. Near invincibility or iron-hard skin is pretty helpful in combat. I don't have to worry too much about defense, especially when nothing can touch me if I don't let it. Anyway, take a look at what happened to your kunai." He picked the kunai up off the ground and handed it to Kakashi, who began to inspect, finding that the tip was bent, and large cracks had appeared in the metal. "Damn, that skin, is it another bloodline? Wait, what do you mean my kunai? You think I'd waste one of my own weapons for something I already knew? I stole one of yours, and I'm not saying how. And no, my skin is not a bloodline." Sasuke looked up at this. "That means it has to be a technique. If I can get my Sharingan, then I can copy it. That power will help me kill him," Sasuke thought. "But you have to be a part of my family in order to gain it, unless mother approves of you, but even then, father did not receive it." Kratos said, "You will take me to your mother and have her grant me that power." Sasuke demanded, "I needed to kill him." Kakashi was starting to get concerned for the Uchiha. He was starting to become darker in his obsession for revenge, and Kakashi knew it wasn't healthy. "Sasuke-chan, be quiet. I don't want to hear about your obsession anymore," Kratos said. Sasuke looked pissed, but the glare Kratos sent him made him shut up. "I realize none of what I said is definite proof, but when Naruto wakes up, I can prove it beyond doubt." The group waited for about an hour and a half before going to sleep, but Kratos stayed awake. He walked away from the camp into the forest until he found a clearing. He turned his head to the sky and quietly said, "Hermes, I need a favor." Less than a second later, a man roughly 19 or so appeared dressed in a robe and winged shoes. "Kratos, it's been a while," he said joyfully. "Your mother has been worried sick about you, and she's raising all kinds of hell. Hera tried to pull her shit on your mom again and ended up falling off the mountain. Even your uncle was scared after that. Well, I have some good news for mom. Give this to her, would you?" Kratos handed the messenger god a letter. It's extremely important. Sure, it's my job after all. Hermes disappeared, and Kratos went back to the camp, to find Naruto awake. Kratos sat down next to him, and the two remained silent for a while. Eventually, Naruto simply couldn't stand the silence anymore. Well, going to explain what in hell you meant when you called me your brother? You are either mistaken or lying. I am an orphan, no parents, no family. Naruto said. His voice was seething with anger. I can't prove we are related yet. But when we get back to the village I can. I need to tell you, I am sorry Naruto. When mother couldn't find you, we assumed you were lost. We would have checked the underworld but certain arguments between its ruler and my mother made that impossible. I should have looked for you, I should have tried to find you, I am so sorry Naruto. Kratos pulled him into another hug, tears coming from his eyes. Naruto was beginning to let his anger slip. He still didn't believe Kratos, but he had less doubts. Still he pulled out of the hug and stared at Kratos, demanding one more thing. Prove it, prove you are my brother. Naruto was actually starting to get distraught. He noticed an uncanny resemblance between him and the stranger. The hair, the eyes, not many people had that radiant color in them, and not even Naruto was dense enough to ignore it. Naruto hasn't seen a picture of the Yondaime, so he hasn't made the connection yet. Naruto recalled Kyuubi's earlier advice while he was in his mind. Flashback. Kid, you should trust him. Why, and how would you know if he's telling the truth? Just trust the 10,000-year-old demon, okay? This isn't something I can just go ahead and believe. It's not like what kind of ramen I'm going to eat, I might actually have family. I can't just go and open myself up. Kid, shut up and do as I say. I am trying to help you. You have done a hell of a lot in that area. Look, I'm sorry that the people of your village are weak, ignorant, and cowardly enough to pick on you because they think a Gaki like you is the lord of demons. But you should seriously give this man a chance. He isn't a normal human. I can tell that much even from within you. But I can't take it if it's a lie. Even if it is, you can always push for some training. You saw what he did to that nin. It was quick, deadly, and perfectly executed. He is very strong, and maybe you can get him to give you some of that strength. Furthermore, why do you think you had that dream of yours? Humans get that kind of thing sometimes, it's like a forewarning of an event. That boy knew of Achilles, there has to be some connection. Fine fur ball. I'll see where this leads and I'll give him a chance. End flashback. Kratos was staring at Naruto now. 1 second, Naruto was demanding proof, and the next he was staring off into space. Naruto? Yeah, sorry. I was just thinking. Anyway, for the time being I'll believe you. Seeing as you do look a hell of a lot like me, except your hair isn't all spiky. But you had better prove it when we get back. Sure Nichan, Kratos said, ruffling his newfound brother's hair. Come on, let's get some sleep. The journey back to Konoha was uneventful. It took 2 days to make it back, and Kakashi was glad that no major disasters seemed to follow Kratos back to Konoha. During the journey back, the two had talked quite a bit, and Kakashi mentioned that he had a theory as to why they could not detect Naruto with their eyes. When questioned further, Kakashi simply told Kratos to talk to the Hokage. When they arrived in Konohagakure, Kakashi immediately dismissed Sakura and Sasuke. Sakura, Sasuke, you two are free to go. Team meeting tomorrow at 7, see you then. Kratos, you'll have to come with me to see the Hokage. Naruto, you should come too. Sasuke went off to train, followed by the ever-pestering Sakura. Kratos and Naruto made their way to the Hokage Tower along with Kakashi. Kratos noticed something as they walked through Konoha. Everyone was staring at them. He heard whispers as they walked. He picked out the words, demon brat, several times. He could see hatred in their eyes, and he could not pick out why. Perhaps they are not welcoming to outsiders, but why call them demons? Perhaps the Hokage can explain. The Hokage was busy filling out paperwork, the bane of his existence. The urge to burn it all with one simple jutsu was overwhelming, but he resisted. An Anbu opened the entrance to his office, and the Hokage looked up. The Anbu could see the Hokage was irritated. Hokage-sama, Kakashi of Team 7 is here with the kid and some other guy. Send them in. The three walked into the room, and Kakashi bowed. Naruto shouted, "Ojii-san," and hugged the venerable Hokage. Kratos simply tilted his head. Kakashi, your report? Mission success. However, it was no C rank. The missing ninja Kashazi Karato was leading that group of bandits. Karato himself was as strong, if not stronger than me. We should be dead, but the boy behind us saved us by taking out Karato. The bandits were not much trouble after that. We tied them up not far from here so Anbu could pick them up. They are stuck in a genjutsu. They won't be going anywhere until we move them. Sir, it is not the mission that I came to speak about. It's these two. Apparently, they are brothers. What? The Hokage was shocked to say the least. If I may, sir, Kratos stepped forward. I am willing to submit myself to any test you have to prove the relation. Since Naruto hasn't awakened the eyes yet, there is not much I can do to prove it other than that. Kratos said. Naruto was getting nervous. He had no trouble half believing Kratos, but if it turned out to be a lie, Naruto would be devastated. If it turned out to be true, Naruto wasn't sure what he would do. Of course, but would you mind explaining who you are? You have no headband yet you obviously have advanced shinobi skills to take out a nin such as Karato. My name is Kratos. I will not reveal my surname yet. My family is a line of great warriors, and I have been trained by the best. I am the current leader of a new mercenary group called the Myrmidons after a unit my ancestor Achilles lead. He said, well then Kratos, welcome to Konoha. If you will accompany me to the hospital, we can perform a few simple tests that can verify your claim. Kakashi, take Naruto there will you? I want to speak with Kratos. Sarutobi said. Of course Hokage-sama. Kakashi and Naruto left for the hospital. Naruto was a wreck. In a matter of a few hours he would find out if this man was a lying bastard or if Naruto really did have family. Even if it was true, would his family accept him after finding out about the Kyuubi? Kakashi-sensei, what if what he says is true? You know about it, will he be told? Naruto asked. Kakashi was surprised his student trusted him enough to ask him. Probably, Naruto. But Kratos doesn't seem the type to judge you that way. I don't think he will hate you, and if he does, then he doesn't deserve to be related to you. As for your mother, I don't know. But Naruto, if he is your brother, then trust him. He seems like a good guy. Kakashi said. Thanks sensei. No problem. He responded as they walked into the hospital. Meanwhile, the Sandaime and Kratos were talking business. After the war with the Kyuubi, the forces of the Leaf were greatly weakened. Anbu was cut down to being a simple police force and with the Uchiha massacre, the Leaf lost that too. While our forces have been replenishing since, we are still dangerously weak against enemies like the Cloud or the Rock. Sandaime explained, you have with you the head of Karato to prove the kill? Of course. Kratos responded, tossing the bag to Sandaime. He inspected the preserved head, and, finding it was in fact the head of Yakashazi Karato, he announced his offer. I would like to hire you and your mercenaries to join the Leaf as a new unit. Your role will be to act as the primary military force of Konoha. This way, Anbu can stick to police work and assassinations, instead of worrying about repelling the forces of other villages. This village can provide for 132 men? Kratos said. He was considering the offer the Hokage was presenting. If the village could provide it, it meant steady income and a good supply of food. The background check would be a minor inconvenience, not that they would find anything on him anyway. Yes, if they are willing to fight for it. Old man, I've got a few conditions. I don't want my men bound to anyone's orders but mine, not that they would listen. I don't give out allegiances, I forge alliances. So if you want me to swear my sword to your command, forget it. If you want my sword backing you as a partner, I'm all for it. Kratos said, we also require our own compound. I can design it and build it, I only need the space. I can agree to those terms. It will have to be finalized with the council, but they should not have a problem with this. Alright then, since I'm going to keep the move quiet, my forces will be here within a week and a half. I'll give you all the data you need on them then. One more thing, if any of my men want reassignment, they can have it. Anyone who wants to join my unit is going to have to pass my test. Alright, agreed. I'll set up a meeting with the council and a skill assessment test so we can place your rank. In the meantime, head to the hospital. I believe you but the tests are necessary. Sure thing. Oh Kratos, one more thing. Sandaime said, and tossed Kratos a Hite 8. Welcome to the Leaf. Kratos arrived at the hospital shortly after finishing his business with Sandaime. His new Hite 8, wrapped proudly around his forehead, drew instant attention from both Kakashi and Naruto. Kratos-san, when did you become a Leaf Nin? Kakashi asked. Just now. And not just me, my entire force. I need to send them a letter about that. Paperwork isn't final scene as the Hokage wants to arrange some test of my abilities. See, the Hokage wanted to supplement Leaf's somewhat lacking forces with some high-quality warriors, which I happen to have in stock. Kratos was beaming, giving off one of his own trademark smiles. That smile made Kakashi flinch for a second. It was almost identical to Naruto's. So anyway, I figured it might be a good idea to get some permanent shelter, as well as a steady supply of money and equipment. Welcome to the Leaf then, I hope to work with you sometime. Kakashi said. Sweet, that means you're going to stay right. You can train me even more now. Naruto was ecstatic. Even if he isn't really my brother, he's a nice guy. We could definitely be good friends, but it would be way cooler if we were family. So did the docs get what they needed from you, bro? Kratos asked. Kakashi was making constant notes about the boy now. If they were going to be comrades, Kakashi wanted to know everything possible about his ally. His latest mental note was how nonchalant Kratos was. Yeah, they got what they need from me. Naruto answered. Cool, guess I'm up nay. Kratos was about to finish when he was interrupted by the entrance of the nurse that was taking the DNA and blood samples. Kratos-san, will you come with me please? She asked sweetly, however, before she left the room, she gave Naruto an icy stare. Kratos noticed Naruto flinch, but knew it would do no good to ask about it now. Yeah, sure. With that Kratos went off. Several minutes later, he re-entered the room, where Naruto was waiting. Kakashi had left a while ago, probably helping old women cross streets while avoiding black cats. Yo bro, that nurse says we can leave. The Hokage will have the results for us in about an hour. Cool. I've been meaning to ask you. Naruto started. Yeah? Could I see those swords? Naruto asked, pointing to the golden twin swords on Kratos' belt. Ordinarily I would say yes, but these are unusable by anyone but me. However, we can go pick up a similar pair, and I'll start teaching you how to use them. Kratos said, smiling at his little brother's enthusiasm. Damn, I have a lot of time to make up for little bro. Kratos thought. Naruto and Kratos quickly picked up a pair of twin katanas similar to the pair wielded by Kratos, and Naruto practiced for about an hour, learning the basic swipes. By the time the results were in, Naruto had a good feel for his blades, an important first step with any weapon. Kratos was impressed but not surprised that Naruto had an aptitude for getting the feel of weapons. When Kakashi came to inform them that the Hokage had the results, he watched for around a minute as Naruto practiced. Wow, Naruto's got some potential in that field. Kakashi thought. Guys, the Hokage has the results. Kakashi said. Naruto clammed up. He had been blocking out the nervousness he felt, but with the test results so close to being read, it was impossible for him to hide his inner turmoil. At this point, Naruto had accepted Kratos as his brother, whether or not they were blood-related. However, if they were family, Kratos had a right to know about the Kyuubi. What if he hates me? Naruto thought. He won't kid. Kyuubi thought to himself. Kyuubi made a note to himself to get the Gaki to let him communicate telepathically. Kratos and Naruto made their way again to the office of the Hokage. When they arrived, Sarutobi sat behind his desk with a happy look on his face. Kratos-san, Naruto-kun, I have the results right here, he said, pointing to an envelope on his desk. Would you like to read them, or shall I? You please old man, Naruto said. Kratos picked up the nervousness, and put his hand on Naruto's shoulder reassuringly. Very well. Putting aside all the medical jargon and the numbers, you two are pretty closely related. In other words, you are brothers. Sarutobi said, still smiling. So I have a family, and a mother. Naruto said quietly. That's right bro. I sent a letter to mother by way of an old friend. I haven't heard back yet, but I am damn sure she is anxious to meet you. Kratos said. I am very happy that your family has been reunited. However, we must look to the issue that broke it apart in the first place. The Hokage said, his face suddenly solemn. Naruto started breathing quickly, and his body clenched up. Naruto, do you want to tell your brother, or would you prefer I do so? No. I'll tell him, Naruto said. This is not going to be good. Kratos said. Kratos-Nisan, do you know about the 9 Biju? If by that you mean the lesser titans, yes. Kratos responded. Titan? Right, whatever. 12 years ago on October 10th, the Kyuubi attacked Konoha. I think the old man mentioned it. Yes, he said that was the reason for your depletion of shinobi and kunoichi. Well, no one could stop it. Then, the Yondaime used a special technique, one which called on the death god himself to seal the demon into a child. Yes, that part one I'm aware of. I was told the child died. Kratos said, his heart beginning to race. Kratos knew where this was going. No, Kratos-san, that child was your younger brother. The last wish of the Yondaime was to have this village treat your brother as a hero. I don't know if you noticed, but his dying wish was never respected. Sarutobi said. Kratos' worry had been replaced with anger. He started shaking as his hair turned dark red, and his eyes became pools of black mist. Naruto was backing away crying. He was sure his brother hated him. I should obliterate this whole damn place for its bigotry and arrogance. I swear on these blades, anyone who dares insult, harm, or stare at my brother with that attitude will go the underworld blind and limbless with their entrails spilling out of their open stomachs. Kratos roared, enraged. Kratos felt hatred and anger spread through him like wildfire. And you? He pointed at Sandaime, why didn't you take him in? He accused. Kratos noticed the Hokage and his brother were sweating, and Naruto was shaking due to the massive amount of killing intent being let loose. Kratos realized what he was doing and began to calm himself. He stopped releasing killing intent, and his physical appearance reverted to that of the nonchalant blonde-haired teen. I wish I could have personally taken care of your brother Kratos, but if I had done so the villagers and the damned council would have been in an uproar. I did make every effort to ensure he was well cared for, although everything I tried fell apart and I ended up getting him an apartment. Sandaime said, relieved that the boy had calmed down. The amount of raw killing intent that had been let off made the Kyubis look like that of a toddler. Outside, the village was panicking until they felt the outbreak die down. Most were suspicious of the Kyubi brat. Yeah, Nissan, don't do that again, you scared the crap out of me. And the old man really did try. It's not his fault that almost everyone in the village is a major asshole. Naruto said. Yeah, sorry about the outbreak. The Kyubi's chakra must have blocked my methods of searching for you, although I have no idea how. I need to develop the ability more, I suppose. Naruto, you have nothing to fear from me. I don't care what you contain within you. I still love you, little bro. He said, smiling. Naruto was crying as he embraced his brother. Eventually, the death grip was loosened. Nice to know you share the sentiment. Naruto, we start training after my skill assessment test. We are also going to build a new house, so you'll have to help me plan it. That is, if you are okay with living with me. Anyway, let's go grab some dinner, I'm hungry. You like ramen? Love it, Naruto said happily. Nissan, let's go to Ichiraku's. I have to tell old man Ichiraku about this. Lead the way, Kratos said, happy his brother accepted him. Kratos-san, before you leave, you should know your test is tomorrow, 2 o'clock, training field 23. Got it, Kratos said as he followed his brother out the office of the Hokage. Kratos and Naruto had a good dinner, most of which consisted of talking. Old man Ichikaru and Ayame were especially happy. They were happy for Naruto, and they were happy that they got to hear the whole story. Above all, however, they were happy because Kratos ate 3 times as much as his little brother. Between the two of them, they were able to pay the restaurant's bills for the next month. After dinner, Kratos and Naruto went back to his apartment, seeing as Kratos had nowhere else to sleep. Kratos changed out of his battle armor into a black t-shirt with the image of a snow owl riding on a wolf set in front of a full moon on the back of it. The front had a sword emblazoned on it, blade pointing downward, which looked similar to his katana but slightly more elaborate. Naruto wondered about the odd clothing, but decided sleep took priority. The next day, Kratos woke up around 6, and went to check on his younger brother, whom he found sprawled out on his bed, snoring, muttering something about blossoms and ramen. Interesting subconscious. Kid's probably a psychological nightmare. I'll let him sleep. After all, once he starts my training he won't get much. Kratos through, then left Naruto to his dreams. Kratos slipped into his armor and left, beginning a morning jog, which by the standards of normal people was sprinting a marathon 400 times over. On the way, he ran into the extremely surprised Maida Guy and his young protege, Rock Lee. Guy-sensei, WHO, is this WHO posse's such flames of youth? Lee shouted, not stopping his own jog. After all, he was only on lap 150 out of 300. He is the new Shinobi Lee. He does appear to be in the springtime of his youth. We must run even faster to match his youth. We will increase our laps to 400, and the weights as well. Konoha's elder spandex freak turned to Kratos and activated the nice guy pose. You, Kratos, right? Will you join the youthfulness that is the green beasts? He asked. I'll pass. Ah, he is hip like Kakashi. Lee, we must outdo him. Let us run the laps. Yosh. And if I cannot finish them, I will do 10,000 jumping jacks. And if you cannot complete that, I will deliver 700 punches to a wall of super hot steel that will have spikes on it. This exchange continued on for a while, until eventually leading to the most horrendous part of the entire scene. Gai-sensei. Lee. The strange, inexplicable genjutsu went up and Kratos' sweat dropped. He was not only deaf, but now scarred for life. The image of a grown man and his look-alike student dressed in green spandex hugging. Never, in all his life, had he seen anything more disturbing to him. You did not see that, you did not see that. Kratos thought, trying to banish the images from his mind. Kratos finished his morning jog by 9, which by his standards was slow, but he, coincidentally considering his run-in with the newly christened Unmentionable Ones, had increased his chakra weights by 100 pounds, so he was not too disappointed. He had managed to keep up the same pace without stopping, save for the encounter with the Unmentionable Ones, which he deeply regretted. He found an empty training field and, after a fraction of a second, a veritable army of clones appeared. The original Kratos drew his swords and the battle royal began. As Kratos and his clones went at it, they were being observed. Kratos knew it, but he honestly didn't care about the person observing him. Sasuke was trying to see what Kratos was capable of, and to find out if any of his techniques were worth copying when he got his Sharingan. Naturally, he was shocked when just under 1,000 clones appeared out of nowhere, without a single movement or word on the part of Kratos. He must be very quick with hand seals, Sasuke thought. In truth, Kratos had simply done his technique mentally. Sasuke intently watched the battle, although all he could make out were how many clones were left. He was unable to see anything in the way of kenjutsu due to the extremely high speed with which each attack was made. However, towards the end of the battle Kratos and his clones began slowing down, reaching the cool-down point in their workout after an hour of intense combat, and Sasuke saw one get stabbed. Had it been a shadow clone like Sasuke thought, it would have burst into smoke. Instead, it simply walked backward so that the sword came out of his rib cage, which glowed gold, then healed. What in the hell was that? A clone capable of taking that kind of damage? I need to copy that when I get my Sharingan. If he just did the hand seals incredibly quick, I will be able to see them and steal his technique. I had better go train more for it. Sasuke thought, semi-awestruck by the technique. As he finished his thought, a kunai with a note on its handle which read, "Dear Gaki, hope you enjoyed the show. Just so you know, that was a warm-up so I could analyze my fighting style. And I didn't use hand seals, don't need them, so don't get your hopes about copying my moves once you get your pathetic little eyes. See you around, weakling." With significant disdain, Kratos. P.S. Ever spy on me again, I will see to it that your life and your afterlife are excruciatingly painful. Beneath the postscript, there was a little picture of a chibi Kratos with his finger running across his throat. When in hell did he write and draw that? And what does he mean no hand seals? Does this mean I can't copy it? Sasuke thought. Just then, he noticed the note had something on the back. The seal for an exploding note. Shit, Sasuke thought as he was blown away. He headed back to the Uchiha compound after recovering to spend the 2 hours he had before the meeting Team 7 training. Kratos left the training ground and left to survey the field where he would be tested on. He had 4 hours to rig a few preparations. In a war, the warrior must prepare for each battle. It's 10 o'clock, that gives me plenty of time to set up some traps. I don't know what the test is, but it will be helpful to have some advanced preparations. He thought. The field was guarded to ensure it would not be interfered with, but Kratos slipped by easily. He simply ran past the guard, who did not have a prayer of being able to see the intruder. 3 hours and 50 minutes later, Kratos was extremely proud of his work. A combination of traps ranging from pranks to ones that could cause permanent paralysis and massive amounts of pain were carefully concealed throughout the field, about 60 in all. Kratos sat down in the middle of the field and began to meditate. His preparations allowed him to get an excellent understanding of the layout of the field, and he ran over every rock, every tree, every single feature that he encountered. When the Hokage arrived with a team of Anbu and Hunter Nin, in addition to the Rookie 9 and their instructors, plus Team Guy, they were not expecting to find him there. Kratos-san, how did you get past the guard? Sarutobi asked. About that, security in this village sucks. When my Myrmidons arrive, I will have some train your Anbu. He responded. The Anbu present as well as the former members present all flinched. The demon child's brother Bastard thinks he is better than us, huh? Maybe I'll kill him and take away that monster's family like he did mine. The leader of the present Anbu thought. You should stop by my office to discuss that. Anyway, your assessment will consist of 2 separate tests. The first will be an evasion test lasting 1 hour. The Anbu and Hunter Nin behind me are some of our village's best, and they will be the ones after you. If you can either incapacitate them, of which I am doubtful, or can evade them for an hour, you pass, and move on to the next test. The Hokage said. Alright, you should have whoever's needed for the second test get ready. This won't take long, Kratos said, his mind already completing his evasion route. Those Anbu were in for hell. Very well. Begin, the Hokage yelled. Kratos instantly ran toward a small grove of trees. The Anbu waited about 5 minutes, wanting to give him a head start. When they started following him, it did not take long before they encountered problems. They knew exactly where he was, he had made no effort to hide. However, surrounding him were some extremely painful traps. 2 Anbu were already incapacitated, and the others were trying to find a way around. The captain was getting very frustrated. Damn it, you are going to die. That demon's family is going to suffer like mine did. The captain yelled. Naruto, being close enough to hear the captain's statement, flinched, but this time not because the words hurt. This time, it was because of the side of his brother he saw the day before. You know, the Hokage did not say anything about not killing you. You just signed your death warrant. Kratos said, rage beginning to seep into his voice. His hair again began to change, along with his eyes, although this time it was slower. Control it, Kratos thought. He stood up, allowing a severe amount of killing intent to radiate from him. The Hokage felt the wave, and instantly knew what was going to happen to that foolish Anbu. It's just as well. He would have been executed for calling Naruto a demon anyway. Kratos disappeared from his spot in the center of the grotto, reappearing behind the Anbu captain, swords drawn. Damn you! The captain yelled, throwing a kick behind him. Kratos grabbed it and the captain's hip, and, in one movement, ripped it off. He slashed out the mont's eyes with one of his blades. This is the price of your bigotry towards the innocent. May you learn to see virtue to replace the loss of the ability to see the world. He said, walking away. The other Anbu was shaking furiously. Kratos looked at him and spoke to her. Walk away. Try to fight me as I am now, and you will die. He flashed her a psychotic smile, and she fainted. Kratos walked back to the Hokage, who was looking at him expectantly. You defeated the Anbu, but the Hunter Nins? The Hokage asked. They haven't even moved yet. Waiting for me to calm down him? At least your trackers are smart. I can see why you need a new offensive unit. Your Anbu performed pathetically. Well, hunters, let's continue. And with that, Kratos disappeared. Arte-chan herself can't catch me, these guys have no chance. Kratos thought. Over a period of a half hour he led them through several routes of traps he had set up. One by one, they were knocked out. They were being picked off like flies. The Junin instructors were scared. None of them could have done alone what this kid was doing, and they were his next test. And it wasn't an evasion test either. The Hokage decided enough was enough, he didn't want his best team unable to do their jobs. He called the challenge, and conferred with the Junin instructors and the remaining Anbu and hunters who were capable of speaking. They decided he was at least Sepsial Junin, if not Cage level. Very impressive, Kratos-san. Are all of your soldiers this skilled? Kakashi asked. Most can do what I just did. That was some of the basic skills that my elites and I teach our trainees. Kratos responded. When did you set the traps? Those were extremely complicated, you couldn't have done that so quickly. Oh, can please I get a look at those swords? Ten asked with wide eyes. Those traps were set beforehand. And you can look, but don't try to touch them. By the way, Hokage-sama, in the future, give more specific orders. You gave only one rule of engagement, which happens to be my favorite. You told me to win basically. I could have easily killed the captain. By the way, he broke the law. Kratos said, first to Tenten, then to the Hokage. You have as good a philosophy for combat as any. Genma said. It works for me. Kratos said, finally showing one of his usual smiles. Apparently. Anyway, the next test is a combat skills test. You will be fighting the instructors here. They are Konoha's resident experts in their given fields. Yuhi Kurenai, Genjutsu mistress of Konoha. The Hokage said, motioning to Kurenai, who stepped forward and bowed. You are quite skilled with your body, but how strong is your mind? She asked. I think I could teach you a thing or two. Advice, don't hold back and use kids' stuff, it won't do anything. An honor to meet you, I look forward to seeing what you can do. Kratos said. The Hokage then pointed to Genma. Our best strategist. A similar exchange took place before the Hokage moved on. Kakashi-san you already know. He is our ninjutsu expert. Then the Hokage pointed towards the next instructor, and Kratos froze up. The Hokage continued, this is Maeda Guy, taijutsu master of Konoha. I look forward to testing your flames of youth. Guy shouted, and Kratos shuddered. You? Kratos tried to speak but could only manage to look away, not wanting to further torment himself. He had to introduce these two to his torturer. He would make good use out of the two. Right anyway, I think we should test your kenjutsu as well, seeing as you do seem to use weapons. Would one of you get Hayate-san here? The Hokage asked, pointing to the genin. Yosh, Lee answered, speeding off to go and get the ever-sick sword master. Shortly thereafter, the mini-green beast returned with the swordsman in tow. Thank you Lee. This is the best swordsman in Konoha, although young Tenten may take his place. The Hokage said. Now that introductions are complete, I will take your advice, Kratos, and lay out some rules. This is a 5-on-1 fight. No one can kill or permanently injure anyone. The Hokage said. Gotcha. If you guys have anything on you that will limit your ability, remove it. I intend to show you what I can really do. Kratos said. He turned off the chakra weights in his armor, and at the same time glowing purple seals became visible on his body, which promptly faded. Gravity seals? Kakashi, Sarutobi, and Guy said at once. The latter of the three began taking off his own weights which, unlike the neat efficiency of Kratos' chakra set, left gargantuan craters in the field. Kakashi lifted his Hite-8, revealing the Sharingan. Right, the genin are here to watch the fight as a learning experience. They and I will watch from a safe distance. When we are safely away, I will begin the match. Sarutobi said. The Junin took starting positions that would allow them to hide themselves when the match started. When the observers were a safe distance away, the fight began, and each combatant disappeared. Kurenai was safely hidden behind several genjutsu, some which concealed her presence, others which drove those coming near whom she did not allow away. Kratos reappeared right behind her, and she spun around, already in the middle of using one of her best genjutsu. Megan. Jin Dansa Iki Jigoku no Jutsu. aka Demonic Illusion. 9th level of Hell no Jutsu, she announced, smirking. This jutsu was her original enhancement to the first level of Hell Illusion. No one save for Itachi had ever broken it. She expected to start hearing the screams of a man being tortured by his personal version of the King of Hell. She was shocked when she saw Kratos simply blink and shrug. Not bad, but genjutsu, as you hinted earlier, relies on the power of the mind. When the will of one mind is strong, so is the illusion it puts onto another mind. However, no illusion, not even the infamous Tsukiyomi, can stand before a powerful mind. The opposite also holds true. An illusion fabricated by a strong mind is almost impossible to break. Let's see how you do with my own technique. Kratos said. Kurenai didn't see a single hand sign, but she felt herself being surrounded by an immensely powerful genjutsu, one which would have drained her chakra reserves had she been the user. She realized that she was underwater, blind, deaf, and unable to move. She couldn't form the seals needed for the dispel technique, but she was fairly certain it wouldn't work anyway. Bubbles began forming throughout the water, and she noticed a significant rise in temperature. I can't move, I am running low on breathe, and now the water is starting to boil. Kid's good, even better than me. Maybe he could teach me this technique. Kurenai thought before screaming from the pain of searing hot water, although she didn't hear it due to her mind thinking her lungs had no oxygen to use for a scream. The other Junin did, however, and they all felt adrenaline surge. The genin and the Hokage heard a female scream, and knew Kurenai was out. Shino looked in that direction and the bugs he had placed around the field came to him and told him what happened. Hinata was watching with her Byakugan, as was her cousin. Both knew of Kurenai's well-earned reputation as a genjutsu mistress, and were utterly shocked to see her defeated by her specialty. Hinata looked to the spot worried for her sensei. Neji retained his attitude as the village nihilist, and, in his uncaring tone, reiterated what happened between the two. No way. Kurenai's sensei wouldn't lose to a kid like that. He wasn't even a shinobi before coming here. Kiba said angrily, followed by Akamaru's bark. Kiba, that boy was and is a shinobi, whether or not he has a headband. The Hokage admonished. Ino was busy wondering if this boy was stronger than Sasuke. He certainly looked as good, if not better. He was a little older, but that shouldn't be a problem, right? Sakura was still dead set on the idea that Sasuke could kick this boy's ass, but she was impressed. Ten admired any strong kunoichi, and was upset that Kurenai was so easily beaten by a boy, no matter how strong. Lee was ranting about how large Kratos' fires of youth must be, while Neji was busy thinking about how fate smiled on this one. Genma was watching the exchange as well, albeit from a lot closer, and was shocked that the boy had defeated the best genjutsu user in Konoha using the art she practiced. He was trying to find a weakness he could use in conjunction with his current team, but so far he found none. The kid is probably pretty quick, but Guy should be able to keep up. I hope. Just to be safe, Gecko will attack with him. An. That is Hayate's name, right? He is one of the few I forget. Kakashi and me will set some traps up where they will fight, and then stand back and wait for the right moment to jump in. He thought. Against any other opponent, this would have been a perfect strategy, and Genma would have been confident. But it relied on finding a weakness in the opponent, and Kratos so far hadn't shown any. He was clearly an exceptional genjutsu user, and traps didn't seem to be a problem for him either. The gravity seals and weights made it clear that the kid had some real speed on his side, which meant his taijutsu had to be Chunin level at least, and if he was actually good at taijutsu it would put him at Junin level without doubt. The only real area of question was Kenjutsu, but Kakashi had said the kid took off ahead with one swipe. That meant at least amateur skill, which, combined with speed, was more than enough against most ninja. Considering all this, Genma went off to warn his remaining teammates of his plan. The 4 Junin set it up immediately. Kakashi and Genma set up the best traps they knew, and made sure Guy and Gecko knew where they were, and every way to set them off. The finalized plan was to force Kratos into one of the traps. Immediately after completion of the trap field, they ran into plenty of Kratos while setting it up. Kakashi and Genma left to hide nearby, and Kratos appeared to find Guy and Gecko already in stance. Guy in the Iron Fist stance and Gecko with his sword drawn and chakra charged. So who set off my traps? Well, if it was one of you, good job avoiding the effects. So I have to fight both of you, huh? Alright, this should be fun. Kratos said, smiling. Gecko just coughed, but Guy had more emotional damages to Kratos' already blacked out memories from earlier. He slipped out of his fighting stance and into his nice guy pose. As his teeth sparkled, he somehow managed to speak without parting his teeth. Do not underestimate flames of youth. They will defeat your own, for I am in the springtime of my youth. Guy yelled. Everyone heard it and shuddered except for Lee and Kratos. Lee yelled, OSSU. While Kratos pulled some earplugs out. He had come prepared for this. You say something? Kratos said. You have Kakashi's hip attitude. Damn you. Guy yelled. I can't take much more of this, cough, Gecko said. I couldn't agree more. Less yelling, more fighting. Kratos said, smiling as he drew one of his swords. Kratos' eyes also started changing, though not to the rage-crazed black, but rather to the misty gray. Gecko charged forward, while Guy used his inhuman speed to get behind Kratos. In Kratos' mind, he saw the attack. Guy with a roundhouse to the head. Gecko coming from the front with sword strikes aimed at the arm he saw himself throw up to grab the kick. Guy arrived first, opening up with a roundhouse kick aimed at Kratos' head. Even Kakashi would have been hard-pressed to duck it with the 6 swordsmen closing in. Kratos ducked it and shot his free hand up, grabbing Guy's leg in the air. Gecko dove in with a series of sword strokes aimed at the outstretched arm, all of which were blocked by Kratos. Holy shit, was Kakashi could say to describe the feat. He had fought Guy many times and he knew that catching one of Guy's kicks when he wasn't wearing weights was damn near impossible. He was also good friends with Gecko, and had learned a lot of his swordsmanship from him. Gecko was using one of his best blades, two-handed, and going all out with each stroke. That was enough to carve an Anbu blade into pieces, as well as whatever Anbu was holding it, and Kratos had deflected each stroke, one-handed, while holding Guy's leg. Yeah, we should get in there, Genma said. Kakashi and Genma leapt into the fray. 4 at once. I may need to turn them off completely. Kratos sighed, then disappeared. He showed up crouched against the side of a tree behind Gecko ready to pounce at the swordsman. He flew off the tree, drawing his other sword. Gecko brought up his sword, positioning it vertically in front of him in a defensive stance. Kratos began spinning. His spin got to the point where it consisted of a golden blur. As the whirlwind that was Kratos met with the Gecko's blade, sparks began flying and flashes began appearing on Gecko's katana. He's going to snap it. Gecko realized. The katana flew apart, shattered. Gecko went flying, hit a tree, and fell down unconscious. Kratos came out of his spin, only to meet with Guy's fist coming at him. He dodged it. Kaden. Gokyaku no Jutsu. Kakashi called, sending a gigantic fireball right towards Kratos. This time, Kratos was screwed, Kakashi was sure. With the amount of chakra put into making that fireball big and fast, there was no hope of dodging. Damn, Shield of Apollo, Kratos cried. A golden aura surrounded him, and as the fireball impacted with it, a flash of pure light erupted from him. The ground underneath him was decimated, both from Kakashi and Kratos' techniques, leaving Kratos standing in a crater. Genma was underneath him. Apparently, he was going to use Doden. Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu, Earth Decapitation Technique. Right before Kakashi's fireball hit, but he didn't count on being blasted before he could get out of the way. 3 down, just you 2 left, Kratos said, before glowing purple, his seals reappearing then promptly disappearing. Guy was suddenly knocked to the left, then up, down, and every other possible way. Hundreds of hits landed on him, and not even Kakashi's Sharingan could see them. As fast as Arashi-sensei, Kakashi thought. Guy slammed into a tree, went right through it and several others before finally coming through a halt. When Neji revealed this, Lee started crying, and was going to rush off to perform several million laps on one of his fists with extra weights on, but the Hokage and his team stopped him. And then there was one. Kratos said, reappearing right behind Kakashi. The final Junin leapt back. Deciding to not waste time, Kakashi instantly went into his stance for the Reikiri. So it's the copy nin's original technique. I will admit, even my speed would be hard-pressed to dodge it without using life gates. But I happen to know 2 moves that will make yours quite useless. Kratos said. What he did next shocked everyone present, save Naruto, who was too much of a moron in terms of history to know what the significance of it was. A flash of yellow light was all Kakashi saw before Kratos appeared behind him in another flash, this time not even moving. This was instantaneous. This was the Hiraishin no Jutsu. And in his hands were 2 Rasengans, perfectly formed. Sensei's techniques. Kakashi thought, shocked that the boy could know either of the deadly moves that earned the Yondaime his name on the battlefield. Surprised aren't you? Kratos said, this fight is over. You guys did good though. I can see why you are considered Konoha's elite. You would all make damn good Myrmidons. When my team gets here, let me know if you want some training. Thanks for the offer. I might take you up on that. Just a question though, Guy and Gecko's attacks, they are nearly impossible to see even with my Sharingan. How did you follow them, much less react? My eyes are eyes of true sight. The Sharingan, the Byakugan, they are both basically pathetic imitations. With my eye, at its lowest level, I have the abilities of both eyes' highest forms, although they work in different ways. I don't exactly have the 3 jutsu of the Sharingan, but I have better skills than that. Anyway, my level of the Kekai Genkai of my family doesn't just slow down my opponent's moves. I really do see them before they happen, as well as what counter I should make. Kratos said. That is incredible, Kakashi said in awe. He then started to walk back toward the Hokage, till the back of his vest was grabbed by Kratos. I feel like showing off some more to my new comrades. Kratos said, smiling. Kakashi felt himself lifted into the air. He looked down, seeing the tops of trees under him. You can fly? Kakashi said, showing emotion yet again. He noticed his mask slip from the amount his jaw dropped, and quickly went back to being partially astonished instead of outright flabbergasted. I love that word. The way I learned, I wouldn't be here if I couldn't. It's not really all that hard or draining, but it is a pain in the ass to learn, and when I say pain, I mean a lot. I couldn't move for 3 months at one point. Can you teach that? Kakashi asked. Sorry man, but the only human other than me who has that privilege is Naruto. And I can't teach it, it comes from my mother. Kratos said. When landed in front of the genin and the Hokage, they all needed serious orthodontic work on their lower jaws. All of them save Naruto knew of the fourth's legendary and supposedly unusable, to any but him at least, Hirai, as well as the Rasengan. The Hokage pulled himself together, and announced his decision on the ranking. You are above Anbu level, at least Special Junin, probably Kage. I honestly can't decide, so I'm making a new rank. Like the Anbu rank, your unit will become a rank equal to Special Junin. So Myrmidon Commander is rank now. You can assign whatever rank you feel best for your men. I do have a lot of questions for you. How in hell can you fly and how do you know the Rasengan and Hirai? As for flying, I worked my ass off. The Rasengan, well, I meet a lot of powerful people in my line of work. Jiraiya-san was one. After a lot of convincing, he taught me the Rasengan. The Hirai was harder to come by. Kratos answered, but that technique was unusable by any but the fourth. Sakura said, showing off her historical knowledge. The fourth are his family. Kratos said. The group again was hit by another surprise. Kakashi went wide-eyed. You couldn't be. Arashi-sensei had one child, and it died at birth along with the mother. Kakashi said. I was born during the war, so father sent me away with an old friend of mother's. And clearly, mother never died, that was a farce. She saw no reason to remain in Konoha without father, so she went home. Oh, that still doesn't explain how you know the Hirai, Kakashi said, trying to find something else to grasp his mind around then the fact that he had a godson again. I am the son of the Yondaime. Naruto said, shocked. This is going to be very annoying to explain. Kratos said. He was going to begin, but an owl landed on the branch of a tree behind him, and, once again to the astonishment of everyone present, save Kratos, spoke. Then allow me to do so, Kratos. I think I might explain it somewhat better. The owl said, transforming into a woman with the same misty gray eyes Kratos had during his fight. She wore an elaborate kimono with an owl on the back with gray feathers and eyes, and a spear grasped in its talons. By the way, your lover, she misses you so she will be coming soon. The woman said. Mother. Kratos said, smiling. He jumped to the woman and gave her a hug. Arte-chan is coming? Sweet. I've been meaning to show her the bow I invented. Her brother and her will love it. Mother? She can't be older than 20. Each female present thought. I appreciate that you think me so young, but I am far older than you believe. I stopped counting after 453. She said calmly. What? Each one yelled, the woman wondering how she knew what they thought. Naruto, may I present our mother, Pallas Athene, goddess of wisdom and war, daughter of Zeus. Kratos said. The woman before them warped next Naruto and hugged him. Athena held her death grip on Naruto for several minutes before letting go, crying. For a goddess, especially one associated with war, crying was not a common event. She looked at the boy, noticing the connection to her lover. He looks like you, Arashi. Both of them rivaled that pretty boy as you called him, and they could wipe the floor with his arrogant ass. She composed herself as quickly as she could, trying to maintain a somewhat regal appearance, noticing that the ninja present did not look particularly impressed. A goddess you say? Incredible, it is an honor, Athene was it? Yes, you can call me Athena though, formality isn't needed amongst familiars. I believe you are familiar me better in another form however. She said, before changing into a slightly shorter woman in an Anbu uniform with straight, deep brown hair, which was essentially the same as what she had shown previously. The Hokage went wide-eyed along with several other Junin who had known the woman. So it's true, you are Sensei's wife. Kakashi started. Naomi-san, I thought you were dead. Kakashi said. We all did. Why did you leave? The Sandaime asked. I didn't have a reason to be here without Arashi. Besides, the only chance I had to stay with my husband was to return to my position as a goddess. Arashi was going to die if he called up Hades. He knew it, as did I after my son died. I attempted to find him, first in the realm of the living utilizing my eyes. But the Kyuubi must have shrouded him. Apparently, I can't see that which has two life forces. So without any reason to remain, I left to find my other son, Kratos. Athena explained. But why didn't you stop the Kyuubi? And didn't you know of Arashi's plan to seal the Kyuubi? I assume he would have told his wife. Sandaime asked. I can't defeat Kyuubi in the mortal realm. Kyuubi is not a demon. He is a lesser titan, a child of the most fearsome beings to ever walk this earth. The original titans were all sealed away because like gods they cannot be killed. A titan of any level possesses monstrous power. My counterpart, Ares, could defeat one, since he is a god of war as well. However, his main field is combat, as well as, well, I'll not get into that. I focus on ideologies of war, as well as strategy. My power is more than a match for a human, but a titan would eliminate me. I could have easily called up Hades, or the Shinigami as you call him, except me and him were never on the best of terms. Hades is not omnipotent save for matters of death, so he had no knowledge of my union with Arashi. So Arashi was able to cut a deal with him in the form of the Shiki Fusion. You know the story from there. As for why I didn't know that Arashi had done this is simple. I respect him too much to pry into his secrets. When Naruto was born, the nurse took him away quickly, saying that something was wrong. She came back later, saying that Naruto had died due to an irregularity. I detected no lie, and I couldn't see him. I suppose she must have given him to a superior, who in turn lied to her before giving Naruto to Arashi. I suppose that explains everything. I take it you aren't here to join the Leaf again? Kakashi asked. Athena reverted back to her goddess form. Athena is not on the level of Zeus, so her form does not cause the instant death of everyone who looks at her, before answering. No, you have two people who are far more powerful than me. I came so that I might talk with my other son, Naruto. Athena said. Everyone headed home after an extremely long day. Naruto was going to head towards his apartment, but Athena stopped him, saying that she thought it more fitting that he live in the house of his father. Upon arriving at the Kazama household, Naruto was awestruck. It was surrounded by a forest and had a large lake behind it. The compound was easily 50 acres, probably more. It made the Hyuga mansion look like a compost pile. None but those whom the Kazama allow may enter here. Your father didn't care for the size much, seeing as he was the last until you two came along. But I think it right that you should have it. Kratos, I think you will find the nearby clearing to be suitable for your forces. Come quickly, both of you, we have much to discuss. Athena said, warmly at first, but her last sentence had a serious inflection. Naruto and Kratos followed her inside, only to be astonished by the perfection of the inside. The entire building had an aesthetically pleasing water system running through it, from waterfall walls to miniature rivers on the floor. The floors were made up of polished oak in some places, tempura mats in others. They entered an incredibly grand room 5 stories tall. The wall opposite of the entrance had an incredible indoor waterfall and an indoor lake. Throughout the area were small lanterns and pathways made of wooden bridges and benches. Bamboo thickets, small ones, were present along with other fabulous examples of natural splendor. The room was an indoor Japanese garden, and a fabulous one at that. The roof was made up of glass, and the sunlight filled the garden. Kratos and Naruto were both felt incredibly relaxed. This room is the main room of the house. Hestia really did outdo herself, wonderful girl, and so humble. The entire building is designed to relax its residents. Kratos, you already know the reason for this I suspect. This is a good place to discuss matters of great importance, I think. They sat by the indoor lake, which could apparently become a hot spring simply by willing a small amount of chakra into a seal located on a nearby rock. The waterfall was apparently controlled by a similar method. One could strengthen its flow or decrease it a serene trickle simply by pushing chakra into another seal on the same rock. Naruto was being uncharacteristically quiet, Kratos noted. Naruto sat down next to his mother, who looked at him with sad eyes. Naruto, your entire life is my fault. Now that I know what your father did, I suspect that you had a hard life. I want you to know that I can already tell you are much like him, despite your life. Please, forgive me my son, she said, her voice breaking up the entire way through. Naruto looked up at her, tears in both their eyes. He hugged her for the second time and spoke. I forgive you, Mom, he said, leaning his head against her. Thank you Naruto, Athena said, smiling. Kratos knew his brother would forgive their mother, and simply sat and smiled as well, realizing that his mother would finally be happy again. Athena breathed deeply and began to speak seriously. We had to discuss your lineage a little deeper. You see, the Kazama clan had an extremely powerful bloodline. It does not have a name. Any doctor can explain that in your bodies there are certain chemicals that are produced to create emotions. The Kazama clan passed down a gene from Achilles himself. This gene causes your brain to produce a new chemical. It reacts to other chemicals. Basically, when you feel extremely strong emotions, those chemicals are being mass-produced. When enough build up, this chemical reacts, and causes your power to go into a state of overdrive. It dwarfs the power of releasing the 8 gates because of its varying effects. Kratos, do you think you could demonstrate it? Already have, he said, sounding a little worried. What happened? Athena said, sounding angry. The Hokage explained what happened to Naruto, how these people treat him. I couldn't control the rage I felt. You know how I struggled to gain my humanity back from the incident when I unlocked the bloodline. The fact that these people would act in this way reminded me so much of that, I almost lost control again. Kratos looked like he was on the verge of crying. I understand, that is a painful memory for you. The people of this village are misguided, you see. Their memory of the fox causes them to react in the same way your memories cause you to react to that kind of behavior. I think if Naruto can forgive them for this fault, then it is not so above us to do the same. Naruto, the power you felt from Kratos in that instance is something beyond rage, above hatred. I have no name for the affect, but I can explain what it does. In a normal human, it's essentially an advanced form of adrenaline. In you and Kratos, however, it is something far more powerful. It affects you on every level. While the normal human body has limits, your body does not, save that of mortality. You can gain certain the abilities of a god. What the chemical does is supercharge your chakra, your muscles, your speed, reaction time, etc. You become a perfect weapon. However, you are also overcome by whatever emotion activates it, at least until you learn to control it. Kratos, show your brother please, Athena said. Kratos instantly began his transformation again. His hair turned red, his eyes black. When I activate this, it either means I am doing it out of will or I am really pissed off. In the case of the former, I still need to fight back the emotion. I can force my body to activate the chemical without the need for an emotion via chakra, however, once I do, the chemical that originally activates whatever emotion I tap into starts mass producing. You can only do this after entering this state the natural way. Kratos said, then reverted back to normal. Naruto was paying attention, and while he did not understand the technical elements of it, he got the gist. Okay, so if I get really tweaked, I go psycho and become superhuman cause I'm a demigod. If I do this once, I can use chakra to do it in a controlled way. That it? Naruto said, eager to try and get this bloodline working. For that skill, yes. You also have another bloodline, one that we can unlock right now. Athena said. She placed her hand over Naruto's eyes, and when she drew it back, Naruto's eyes appeared the same, but he could feel a distinct tingle in them. What is that feeling? Naruto started to ask. Your eyes are trying to draw chakra. Let them have it, don't worry about frying your retinas. While you draw chakra to your eyes, I want you to focus on something. I want you to look at my hand Naruto, and focus on where it will go. Tell me when you see it move. Athena said. Naruto began to look at her hand intently. He just kept staring and at first, thoughts littered his mind about possibilities as to where she might move her hand. Gradually though, he stopped thinking, he just stared at her hand. Then he saw, within his mind, an image of Athena throwing a punch at his chest. He instinctively moved his hand there. What, you didn't punch me? Naruto asked, confused. No, Athena said, looking pleased. So what in hell did I see you do? You didn't see Mom do anything Naruto. You saw what she was going to do. Kratos said. Naruto looked ecstatic. Damn, that is kick-ass. What kind of technique was that? Naruto asked. Naruto, look at your reflection in the lake. Athena suggested. Okay. Naruto said, then got up and looked. He saw himself staring back, but instead of radiant blue eyes he met with misty gray ones. A dujutsu? Sweet. My, energetic? Athena said, chuckling. A lot like you, Kratos? A voice spoke. A silver wolf appeared and began walking toward Kratos before nuzzling its head against his leg. Arte-chan, he said happily, but whispered to her, seriously, don't mention that in front of mother. It was embarrassing enough when she found us making out. Good point, the wolf said, before turning into a woman who looked about 16. She had silver, slightly curly hair. Her body was one that men dream of. Naruto saw her and thought, are all goddesses so damn perfect? She had what looked like a leather hunting outfit on her, with a wolf emblazoned on the back. She had a silver bow strung on her back. She also had a somewhat ethereal glow to her, as though moonlight radiated from her. She looked towards Naruto, and took quick note of his stare. What are you staring at? She asked sweetly. Naruto started sweating, trying to come up with a halfway decent excuse other than saying he was staring at her body. In his experience, complimenting women on their bodies equated to beatings. Ooh, that glow, what exactly is it? Naruto asked. Kratos, you didn't tell your brother about me? I'm hurt, the girl said, faking a hurt look. Kid, I'm called Artemis, goddess of the moon and of the hunt. She said ecstatically. Artemis, good to see you out of your grotto. I was afraid you would castrate Hermes for entering to give you my message. How is your brother? Good. By the way, Kratos, I spoke with him about us. Artemis said. Kratos paled at this, recalling what happened to the last person Artemis showed affection toward. He took it rather well. He's not going to kill you. I think it's because you earned his respect with that instrument of yours. That and you're the only one to match him and me with a bow. Kratos breathed a sigh of relief, glad that he would not share the fate of Orion. Thank the gods I'm going to live, he said. You're welcome, sweetie, Artemis said. By the way, nice place. Hestia told me she worked on it. I didn't think she did this good. Mind if I stay here too? If mom's okay with me living with my girlfriend, hell yeah. Kratos said happily. Sure, you're not a kid anymore, and I don't have the right to boss Artemis around. Don't blame me when Apollo tries to skewer though. This reminds me, you both need to explain why Artemis was in your bed a while back. Athena said, smiling. Like any mother, there was nothing she loved more than embarrassing her children. The two said in unison, trying to think up a way out of their situation. Naruto ended up saving both their asses. Yo, what about the kid here? I need to know how to turn these eyes off. Dujutsu drained chakra fast and I don't want to be exhausted. He said. Naruto, you have more than enough. Besides, you get your chakra back almost as soon as you lose it. Still, you turn it off by retracting chakra from your eyes, and reactivate it the same way. Kratos will teach more about the eye tomorrow. She said. Now Naruto, in order for your training to begin, we have to deal with the problem that prevented me from caring for you my whole life. We are going to remove the Kyuubi from you. Naruto was about to protest, although he did want the fox out of him. He couldn't just let the creature that destroyed Konoha free. His mother continued on, however, Kyuubi did not willingly attack Konoha. He was pushed into it by a force he couldn't resist. Let's talk to him. Naruto, I'm going to knock you out. Kratos and I will enter your mind. Artemis, you can come too. You really should pay your respects to the cleverest animal on earth. He was your old playmate after all. Whoa, wait, the chibi fox is in Naruto? What did I miss? Artemis said, surprised. Everyone's sweat dropped. You really need to leave that grotto more. I'm glad you're staying with me now. Kratos said. Athena then knocked Naruto out with a touch to a pressure point on his neck. Kyuubi drew Naruto into the usual place, and Kratos, Artemis, and Athena followed suit. Your mind looks like a sewer. You don't redecorate much, huh? Kratos said, looking around as he walked down the hall. Redecorate? Naruto asked. Your mind, your world. You make it look like what you want. Kratos said. Really? Sick, I gotta try that. Naruto said. Don't do it just yet. We are about to remove an important part of your mind as it is. Athena said. The group walked on, eventually reaching the gigantic cage that housed the great Kyuubi no Kitsune. Kit and his family, that you Artemis? Kyuubi asked. Yeah, you've gotten bigger since the last time we played. Artemis said. So who got to you? Even if you're related to the Titans, you aren't the violent type. Ares did. My sick counterpart temporarily warped your mind and caused you to simply shed blood. But as to why, not even I can know this. Athena said. It's because he's a sick, psychotic bastard. Why else? Kratos said. True enough, but he never acts without a goal. Athena said. Athena, you know too damn much. Yeah, Ares managed to mess with my mind, and I went berserk. Something told me to rip this village to shreds, so off I went. When I got separated from my body, whatever Ares did went away. Is that why you helped me, Furball? Naruto said. Artemis started laughing her head off. Don't call me that, damn it. And no, it isn't. When I saw you dreaming about Achilles, that's when I decided to stop tormenting you. Because Achilles, I owe him. He was the one who raised me, and the one who stopped the gods from sealing me with the others when they found out I was a titan. Most of us are bloodthirsty savages, like that damned Tanuki. He saved me from becoming like that, and from the gods' instant urge to seal me. I guess I kind of look at him like a father. If you're related to him, my debt to him carries over to you. Kyuubi said. Yeah, that was way back. You were so cute. I really didn't get why Hades wanted you sealed away in that hell pit. Then again, that cranky spook wants anything that doesn't die behind his bars and under his control, like the Fate Sisters. Artemis chirped. Kyuubi, we are going to release you. However, to prevent Ares from repeating his sins, we are giving you a much smaller body. You see, Naruto's bloodline is actually being hindered by you inadvertently. No offense to your power, but his ability makes leeching off of a titan look like a joke. Freedom? Woo. I don't suppose apologizing to the village would help much, but if I can I will. Kyuubi said. Not to worry, Fox. I think I have a plan. Risky though. Kratos said. I'll explain later. Okay, you two, Kid and Naruto, I am indebted to you, so I am going to give you a contract for my species. Lesser titans double as animal gods, you could say, so naturally we hold the contracts for them. I'll teach some damn cool techniques. Now let me out of here. Kyuubi roared. Athena walked over to the seal on the cage, and placed both of her hands on it. She began to concentrate, and the seal started to dissolve, reappearing on her. Kratos looked on in amazement, along with Artemis. What Athena was doing was extremely risky. Straight out removing the Kyuubi from Naruto would kill him, so she seemed to be using her body as a medium for the transfer, seeing as it wouldn't kill her. This could potentially leave her unable to move for weeks, seeing as absorbing the massive amount of chakra would put an immense strain on even her body. The cage opened and the Kyuubi's form mixed with Naruto's mental image of Athena. Done, she said, before the group left Naruto's mind. When they reawoke back in the real world, Athena went into her own mind and simply edited the seal, then placed it on the Kyuubi. A large fox that could easily carry 3 people appeared. It had auburn red fur and 9 tails. Yes, I'm free, finally. Meh, I'm smaller, but I can live with this. Kyuubi said. Training starts tomorrow, if that's alright with you, Kratos. Athena said. Sure. Who's making coffee tomorrow morning? Kratos asked. Artemis and Athena sweat dropped. I'll make it, freaking addict. Artemis said with a sigh. Okay then. Naruto, 0800 hours, boot camp starts. Kratos said with a psychotic grin. Cool, Naruto said, before falling asleep in his mother's lap. Hey, little bro's not a night person. I'll be on the roof if you need me. Kratos said. Athena sighed at this, knowing that's where he always went. She gave Artemis a map of the house, and told her which room she and Kratos had before going to her own. On the roof of the Kazama household, Kratos was staring at the stars, mapping out the visible constellations. What happens if I lose control again? I won't go back to being his monster, I can't, what would all of you do? He said, asking the various habitants of the stars. He looked to Ursa Major, then Minor, to each of the astrological signs that adorned the clear sky. Artemis hopped onto the roof, looking at the boy. You still are afraid, aren't you? She said. Yeah, I almost lost myself again. When I heard about how sick these people treated my brother, if anyone would do something like that to a mere child, they are less human than the demon they hate. All it takes is a few wrong words and I go psycho. I already had to deal with the first time it happened. My humanity has enough scars on it. Kratos said. What did your mother say? I'm sure you told her about the nightmares. Artemis asked. She told me that, the past is done with, and the stars will show you your future. Look to them, and find peace. You already found your humanity again. All you need is to forgive yourself. But how can I do that when all those souls, they must all hate me? And when I go down, I'll have to face them, all of them. My name, it means power, but I have no idea what I am supposed to do with it. Every time, I keep remembering him, laughing at me. You know, I remember how Apollo felt after Orion and Scorpio. He would stare at them every night, a lot like you do. He was worried I would never forgive him, and I wasn't going to. That is, until Hades showed up on Olympus with an arm severed off. Orion wanted to give me a message, he wanted me to forgive my brother. I think in death most souls lose the need for anger and hatred. I'm sure a fair few will still hold a vendetta, but those are the ones that deserved death. Artemis said. After that, they both just stared at the moon. It was a full moon, and like so many autumn moons, it looked so much larger than any other time of year. Nice work on that one. Kratos said. Come on, let's go to sleep. Yeah? Artemis replied. Most of the residents of the Kazama household had peaceful dreams. Naruto of ramen, Kyuubi of the days when he was still a kid, and Achilles took him to meet Artemis. Artemis dreamt of the day she met Kratos. Athena and Kratos, however, had disturbing dreams. In the case of Athena, she saw a snake underneath a pair of blood-soaked axes. They were bathed in green fire, a fire she recognized as the flame of the underworld. But behind all this were several gargantuan shadows. One reached out towards her, but a blood-red hawk attacked its arm. The hawk looked toward her, then exploded in golden light, engulfing all the figures she saw and herself. She awoke, sweating. A vision? Was her last thought before drifting into another, much more peaceful sleep. Kratos' dream lasted the entire night. Flashes of himself, covered in blood, a large figure behind him, laughing. He saw himself in a village, slaughtering everything in sight. It wasn't just the shinobi he killed, it was everything. And he was enjoying it. Slowly, his body changed into the figure behind him. He turned around and killed it, and found himself sitting on a throne. A throne made up of blood and human skin. At 7 o'clock the next morning Kratos woke up sweating and with a mammoth headache. Artemis, who had been using Kratos' chest as a pillow, let out a murmur about not wanting to get up. She opened her eyes, meeting with Kratos' squinted ones. You sweat a lot, she said, getting up. Coffee, right? A moan from Kratos was the only response she got. She checked the map and went off to the kitchen. When she came back, she had 2 cups of steaming hot coffee. Kratos yanked his right out of her hands and chugged the entire thing. You really shouldn't eat the cup too, she said. All caffeine must be absorbed. Now I really need a shower. Kratos said. The bathroom that's connected to the room has a nice big bathtub. I'll get the water going, she said, smiling. I think I can take your mind off things, she said, flashing a devilish smile. Meh, whatever, Kratos said, still in his sleepy haze. Then the caffeine kicked in. His energy skyrocketed, his headache disappeared, and he realized what she meant. Whoa, hold on, I gotta train Ni-chan. He called after her. Your point? You're not getting out of this. What's wrong with you anyway? I thought human men kept one thing on their minds. Hell, even the gods have one thing on their minds. What are you, gay? She said, knowing that would get him to comply. Kratos flinched at her words. Gay, me? I'll show you otherwise, he said, following her into the bathroom. Later, after their bath, Kratos and Artemis went to wake up Naruto, who was busy gorging himself on ramen. Pulling him away from his bowl, they went outside to the training compound. Artemis went to go and get some supplies out of the equipment room. Okay little bro, training starts now. Your schedule is on this scroll. I already had it approved by the Hokage, Kakashi knows about it. You are really going to need this for what he has in store for you and your team. Damn, I wish I could tell you, Kratos said. Naruto opened up the scroll, read it, and went wide-eyed. The scroll read as follows. Schedule. 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock laps around Konoha. 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock chakra control. 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock strategy. 2 o'clock to 2:30 lunch. 2:30 to 6 o'clock taijutsu. 6 o'clock to 6:30 dinner. 6:30 to 8 o'clock ninjutsu. 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock weapons. 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock bloodline training. 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock further education, history, theory, physics, etc. 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock traps. Are you insane? Naruto said. This was the most intense schedule he had ever seen. Hell man, if you think the schedule is rough, you should see the techniques. But my training methods will give you my level of skill in under a decade. Hell, when we get you to Olympus it will take no time at all. Same Jiraiya ain't here. He'd be helpful. Ah well. Just so you know, every exercise I give you will be completed. I don't care if you need to stay up all night to finish the training. I have 3 weeks to get you ready, and in that time, you are going to become damn powerful. Kratos said. Now, I know you have a meeting at 12 o'clock, but Kakashi ain't getting there till 2 anyway, right? My intel on him says he's chronically late. So you'll have lunch around then. Kratos said, as Artemis walked over, struggling with an extremely heavy box. Here, got the stuff, she said, handing the box to Kratos, who held it with one hand. He set it down, opened it up, and took out 2 black ankle bands and 2 matching wristbands. He put some of his chakra into them, then put them on Naruto. Naruto promptly collapsed. What are these things? He said, struggling to get up. Chakra weights. Based on how much chakra is in them, the weight goes up. Those are special though. They will draw on your chakra as your body adjusts, making the weight gradually increase. Right now they're at about 150 each. Kratos said, as Naruto finally got up. I'll also put gravity seals on you. The weights you can take off during fights only, but the gravity seals never come off unless I or Kakashi tell you to, understood? That, and if you are in a situation where victory requires it. Now lie down, and take off your shirt. Kratos continued. Naruto did as he was told, and Kratos took out a senbon needle, which he pricked himself with. He started drawing seals all over Naruto's back, arms, and chest. This should have taken hours, but Kratos disengaged his own seals and weights, allowing him to move extremely fast, completing the complex seals in about half an hour. He pushed chakra into them, and the seals started to spread, covering Naruto everywhere that Kratos didn't draw seals. Whoa, so how to turn these things on? Naruto said. Kratos showed Naruto the activation seal, and Naruto copied it, and activated his seals, once again falling to the floor. More weight? I'm being crushed to death. Naruto said. No you're not. Get up. All it did was multiply the effect of gravity on you. As you adjust to the effect, the gravity on you will increase. Right now, you are at a factor of x2 gravity. Kratos said. Naruto struggled, but finally got up, out of breath from the combination of weights and gravity. So what are you at? Naruto asked, gasping between words. X50. Kratos said, while Naruto's jaw dropped. Not that it matters. I want 100 laps around Konoha. Artemis, sick a wolf on him to make sure he runs the whole way. Wait, what? Naruto said. Let's see. Oh he's a fast one. Lotho. Artemis called. A gray wolf materialized next to her. On my command. If you catch him, don't kill him. The wolf growled its agreement. Start running kid. Lotho, tear him a new asshole. She said with a grin. Naruto ran slow at first and suffered a few nips, but after a while he stopped noticing the weight. He was forced to do extreme tree climbing, which was extremely hard because Kratos covered the tree in shuriken and slicked it with oil. With Naruto's weights it was almost impossible. When he managed to get past this, he would have to do water walking, which Naruto was dreading. He was sure Kratos would fill the body of water with piranha or sharks. Strategy was, oddly enough, something Naruto showed some aptitude for. Sure, he sucked at it for the time being, but once he started thinking, he started beating each exercise. By lunch, Naruto was dead tired from the mental and physical exhaustion. When he showed up to the meeting, he actually arrived after Kakashi. I crossed a black cat. Your excuse? Kakashi asked. Where in hell were you Baka? Sakura yelled. Dobi, what the hell happened to you? Sasuke said. Naruto looked up at them, his eyes bloodshot. Sadistic, bastards, need to eat? Naruto gasped out. He pulled out a thermos which was apparently filled with some special concoction that was the invention of one of the more innovative myrmidons. According to Kratos, it would completely replenish Naruto's energy, it was extremely healthy, and could keep him running for some time. He neglected to mention that it tasted god-awful. Naruto gagged on each bite, but swallowed. Right, anyway guys this meeting is pretty important. No mission, no training. I just need to tell you that you, along with the other rookies, are nominated for the Chunin selection exam. It's pretty intense, shinobi from every village are going to be there. It isn't an easy test. You have 4 weeks. I recommend you train for 3 and rest for the last one, or use that one to brush up on strategy against your possible opponents. You each have the choice to take the exam, so think on it. That's all. Oh, Naruto, you're exempt from meetings unless I say otherwise. Your brother must be running you into the ground. Kakashi said. What? The Dobi gets to train with him. He doesn't deserve it, he's not strong enough. I need that strength to kill him, damned it. Sasuke spat out. Yeah, why does Naruto Baka get to train with him? I know he's his brother and all, but seriously, that's kind of unfair. Naruto, I think you should convince your brother to let Sasuke-kun train with you, since he is way stronger and would learn more. Sakura said. You know what, I used to like you, then I saw bro and his girlfriend, and you know what? I realized you're a goddamn bitch. Go screw yourself and your precious Sasuke-kun while you're at it, if he isn't gay, that is. Naruto said. He was tired, run ragged, and eating the most disgusting thing ever made by man. Simply put, he was not a person to mess with. That's a little harsh. Sasuke, you're with me. I'll train you. Naruto, you have about 10 minutes to finish eating. I suggest you make use of that time. Kakashi said. Meanwhile, outside of Konoha, a large group of cloaked figures moved through the neighboring forest. Each one moved quietly, without making a sound, and leaving no traces that they were ever there. They were like ghosts, haunting the trees. It seemed as though they didn't breathe. Even a Junin could have stood right next to them, and would never know they were there. Naruto made his way back to his tortuous brother. His brother tossed a scroll at him and told him to start reading. It had to do with the family taijutsu. It rivaled the heavenly fist of the Hyuga clan. From Naruto could tell, it made use of the all-seeing eye to predict one's opponent's moves, and strike at the weakness created during their movements. Its hits were full-force blows to any area, vital organs, muscles, and point. It actually combined several styles, and allowed for an incredible amount of adaptations. What truly made it deadly was that at each hit, not only did you enforce your muscles and bones with chakra, you created a multi-needle stab of chakra into the body. It could be as precise as the heavenly fist, or simply blow holes through them. Kratos demonstrated once by sealing a few tenketsu on Naruto, and then displayed what a less imprecise strike could do. The end result was a rock blasted to pieces. Naruto began learning how to use his bloodline to see into a person's body, and to better read their movements. He was a quick study in that area, and improved greatly in a short time. His earlier exercise in chakra control had already granted him a significant boost in control, so he was able to master the basics of blasting chakra out of one's hands, and fortifying body parts with it. Any other person would have required perfect control, but in Naruto's case, demigod attributes made his system larger and capable of handling imprecision to a certain degree, since his body automatically utilized some wasted chakra. Then they spared, and Naruto got his ass kicked. He was slower, less proficient with the style, and lacked the same experience. Dinner was actually pleasant. Naruto was awarded ramen with his nice work, which contained extract from the goop that was served for lunch. Surprisingly, it worked well with miso ramen, so Naruto ate 8 times as much. Kratos had the same, minus the energy additive. Instead of that, he had a cup of coffee, which had several shots of espresso in it. Actually, it was more like a jug of it, but no need to be technical. As the two ate, Kratos began to tell Naruto what his major flaws were. Well, you definitely need to work on your control. Your speed is automatically being amped up. You seem to pick up the style's movement well enough, and you adapt and improvise excellently. And you can already take one hell of a beating. I can't wait to see what you can take and dish by the exam. That concoction you're taking, it makes your body more susceptible to change. Every injury becomes a hardened point, your brain absorbs information better, and you remember what I do and say. It's almost as good as caffeine for supplying you with energy, he said, smiling. Behind the two brothers, both of whom were thoroughly enjoying their meal at Ichiraku, an Anbu approached. What do you want, Anbu-san? Kratos asked, not even bothering to look up. The Hokage requests your immediate presence. The Anbu replied. He told me to tell you that your friends are here. You know what he means? Kratos' face lit up. Naruto, come with me. You are about to meet the strongest men alive, Kratos said. When they arrived at the Hokage's office, 4 other people were waiting. They kneeled in front of Kratos, who simply sighed. Guys, I told you not to do that. I hate that formal bull. It's impractical, Kratos said. The figures took down their cloaks. The one on the far left had a psychotic grin, spiky black hair, and was tall and lanky. He looked pretty scrawny. The next one in the line was a big guy, putting it lightly. He stood at almost 7 feet 6 inches, and was ripped. He was clearly the tank. An extremely large blade was strapped to his back. Following him was a man wearing a white cloak. In his hands was a stack of files. Next was a standard-sized guy with a cigar in his mouth. He had a pair of glasses, and looked capable in combat, but definitely wasn't a key fighter. His face had a look of thoughtfulness on it. He got up, motioning for the others to do the same. Sorry, Kratos-sama, we wished to show a fair amount of respect in front of the leader of our hosts. The psychotic one said. Whatever. Guys, say hello to my brother, Naruto. Naruto, these guys are my elites. The psych's name is Seth, he's our interrogator and our best spy. The Hulk is Taurus, named after the bull. You can see why. He took that sword from one of the swordsmen of the mist. He's our combat specialist and my sparring partner. The guy with the files is our best medic, his name is Ophilos. Finally, we have our strategist. His name is Stratus. Guy's got an IQ around 250. He has a bloodline that allows him to utilize about 40% of his brain, while most of us only use 10%. Kratos said. Each member gave a small greeting to Naruto, referring to him with the Sama usually reserved for officials of great importance. Hi, you guys must be pretty tough. Maybe you could teach me a thing or two? Naruto said. Oh, they will be assisting me. Kratos said. Naruto inwardly cried. He was hoping to get a teacher who wasn't planning on bringing him to near death on a daily basis. Well, if I may speak, the Sandame spoke up. I can assume then, that these are, in fact, your elites? Odd names. I guess the Myrmidons are here then. I'll have an Anbu open the gates. Guys, I want you to direct them to a clearing in the forest on the southeast side of Konoha. I marked it with the usual tracker. Kratos said, and then turned to Ophilos. Doc, give the Hokage the personnel files, he'll need the copies. Remember, you're still in charge, and I intend to have a special facility but the hospital may require your assistance, and we may need theirs, so they will need updated records. Go head over to the hospital, and determine the effectiveness of their staff stratus. Look into these contingency plans I drew up for various attack scenarios, and make sure they are as foolproof as possible. Taurus, get the men over to that clearing and have them start building our new base according to these plans. Kratos said, handing out said documents to their respective recipients. Sir, they each cried before using the Shunshin no Jutsu, and attending to their given tasks. Kratos and Naruto returned to training, and by 1 o'clock Naruto felt as though he was going to fall apart. Kratos allowed him to remove the weights for a shower, but not the seals. Then the two went to bed, Kratos wondering what kind of coffee he would have the next day, and Naruto hoping he would survive till the exams. Kratos ended up having to carry Naruto into his bed, and wished him a good night's rest. Hey bro, good night man. And by the way, you're the best student I've had yet. You improved a lot for one day. By the time of the Chunin exams, you'll be more than ready to kick the shit out of anybody. Who knows, maybe you can sign on as one of mine. I'd like that, he said, smiling. Naruto smiled back before drifting off to sleep. At the beginning of Naruto's 4-week training session, Naruto had thought Kratos to be a sadist. Now, 2 days before the first exam, he was positive that Kratos was not only the second most sadistic person on the planet, he also attracted sadists. Every exercise thrown at him came with several motivations. The first of these was that they were Kratos' personal routine, and would without doubt make him incredibly powerful. The second was that if he did well, it was ramen for dinner. The third, and probably most compelling, was that if he failed or lapsed even slightly in an exercise, it led to him being mutilated in some way, shape, or form. Kratos had personally trained Naruto the entire way, relying on his elites and Artemis only for assistance. As training went on, Naruto had more put into his schedule, as he began to get through certain exercises quicker. He had taken on stealth and assassination training, torture and interrogation, technique invention, as well as beginning to learn how to perform techniques without any signs of doing so whatsoever, although that would take much more time to learn. Naruto got to know all of his trainers extremely well. Seth was the only person Naruto could consider more sadistic than Kratos, but that's because Seth was a genuine psychopath. His teeth itched all the time, at least in his warped mind, and he constantly had hallucinations. He knew everything there was to know about hurting people. This was not, however, the only talent he had. If Seth did not want to be seen, he was undetectable. He could come of nowhere, and do so without making a sound. Had he wanted to be a serial killer, he would have raised some serious hell. Fortunately, he only liked torturing and killing those who deserved it, although in his mind, quite a few people did. The only reason half of Konoha wasn't in body chains in his lab, as he called it, was because Kratos stopped him. Surprisingly, he was an excellent fighter despite his scrawny build. He seemed to be able to curve his body in any way, making use of that build as a weapon. He was almost impossible to hit. Kratos revealed that it was just a style that Seth's body let him make more use of. The creepy thing was he seemed to be able to extend his body. When Naruto asked Kratos about this, he simply responded, "Hell if I know how he does it." Creepy, ain't it? When Naruto asked Seth, he simply shrugged and said, "Never thought about it before." Seth was a harsh teacher, and Naruto's loud nature earned him several painful memories, but he eventually learned. Of the elites, Taurus was Naruto's favorite. He was tough as nails and extremely strong. Apparently, he was distantly related to the god Hercules. An. Just so all of you know, Hercules did actually become a god after his death. Disney actually got something right. Whom Naruto had learned all about in history lessons from his mother, which he detested. Taurus was Kratos' sparring partner because he was the only one who could take the hits. His helped teach Naruto weapons, and gave Naruto strength training. Under him, Naruto learned special muscle development tricks, along with several really powerful fighting styles that focused on basically breaking or dismembering one's opponent in almost any way possible, such as Iron Fist, Raging Bull, and Berserker. He had a pretty carefree attitude, but was a straight-to-business guy when it came to training. Naruto had watched Kratos and Taurus spar, and both were incredible. Kratos was clearly better, but considering the level of skill both had, Taurus did well, actually managing to hurt Kratos despite his incredibly hard skin. Stratus was a thinker, obviously. He was the most logical person Naruto knew. However, he had no emotional side to speak of. He wasn't broody or cold, he just always looked very thoughtful. He had taken one day to further analyze the weaknesses of Konoha, and gave Kratos an extremely detailed report. He taught Naruto many strategy games, which Naruto performed horrendously at first. However, after about 2 weeks, Naruto began to draw connections between moves. He started to pick up on the rudiments of logical thought processes. He still needed severe improvement in this area, but if he had to match his skills against anyone with a normal IQ, that unfortunate person would be crushed. Kratos decided to give Naruto an IQ test after seeing his performance, and it found it to be surprisingly high, approximately 173. Naruto didn't care much for Stratus, but he admitted that what Stratus lacked in emotion he more than made up for with his incredible strategies. Ophilos was an incredible doctor, to say the least. He taught Naruto everything there was to know about human anatomy and biology. Naruto was atrocious at medical ninjutsu, mostly because his control was horrible. Ophilos and Kratos corrected that extremely quickly, however. Naruto was not on the level of a medic shinobi, but he could heal most surface wounds without much difficulty. The doctor also taught Naruto nutrition. It was he who invented the compound that Naruto was forced to ingest so his body would adapt more quickly, and he made sure Naruto at least knew how to be healthy, whether or not he ate right. It was through the doctor that Naruto learned of his elder brother's severe addiction to caffeine. That, and the fact that on one morning when he didn't have any coffee, he forced Naruto to walk up a waterfall. If Naruto fell, the pool at the bottom held multitudes of extremely hungry piranha. Ophilos was fairly certain he had never healed so many puncture wounds at once. Artemis was known as the hunter for a reason. In the forest, in the field, in a lake, wherever Naruto tried to hide, she found him. She taught him evasion, tracking, traps, and instructed him in the art of the bow and arrow. She was like most women Naruto knew. She was very sweet, kind, and gentle for the most part. Piss her off in any way and you were royally screwed. A normal woman you could get away from. In the case of a goddess, one has no hope, and if that goddess is a goddess of the hunt, then you are really, truly, royally screwed. She was, however, a very good teacher, and she and Seth managed to at the very least get Naruto to behave like a ninja when he chose to. Naruto's mother was his teacher in history as well as his eyes. She taught him everything there was to know about each Olympian, and a lot about the lesser gods. Ares, the god of war, made Naruto's hit list pretty quick when it was mentioned that he reveled in bloodshed, and often arranged for human massacres to provide his halls with more blood. The other god Naruto had a problem with was Adonis. From what he could tell, he was just a narcissistic pretty boy. Athena also helped teach Naruto strategy, but in her case, she focused on the strategy that should be applied in one-on-one combat, while Stratus taught him group tactics. Of all his teachers, it was Kratos that Naruto learned the most from. He was a veritable library of jutsu, and had no qualms about teaching Naruto anything he could. He couldn't teach the Rasengan or Hiruishin, since he wanted Naruto to be taught Jiraiya for the former, and wanted to save the latter until Naruto had mastered several other techniques. He did, however, instruct Naruto in 4 hand seals that only gods and demigods could use, and they held incredible power. These were the 4 elemental seals of water, fire, earth, and wind. Using these, a person could gain temporary control over an element. Kratos revealed that since meeting Naruto, he had been working on a technique that would allow him to utilize more than one of the seals at a time, but it was still in the works. Kratos also honed Naruto's eye bloodline. He explained that the eye saw what the user willed it to see, except in the case of seeing the future. It was more than capable of taking on multiple traits at once, which was a skill Naruto gained quickly. This made the eye the Byakugan essentially, except it could see arteries, veins, muscles, etc. It lacked the 360 view field, however. The eye was also capable of acting like the Sharingan, in the sense that it granted the user a photographic memory, and allowed the user to translate thought to motion much faster, essentially allowing someone to instantly use a technique in conjunction with the ability to see how the chakra is gathered. At level 1, it revealed an opponent's next move periodically, and it slowed the opponent's movements down to the level of the Mangekyo. Higher levels allowed the eye to be used more, for less chakra, and to see more things, as well as more constant visions of the future. The final level was something only a true god could have. Kratos taught Naruto a lot, from forging weapons to creating techniques of his own. However, none of his lessons meant more to Naruto than ideology. Kratos had the soul of a genuine poet within him, and he believed very strongly that fighting without a purpose made you a pathetic tool of Ares. He and Naruto often debated issues of morality versus practicality, and they usually agreed in the end. Naruto had picked up Kratos' habit of staring at the stars to answer his problems. If Naruto had learned nothing in the weeks of training, he had learned why a person should fight, and that made his training a resounding success. Now, after almost 4 weeks of hard-as-hell training, he had 2 days left before the exams. Naruto had all but mastered his family taijutsu, and extended his jutsu library to over 100, including some medical jutsu, kenjutsu, and even genjutsu. His chakra control was perfect, and using it, he mastered flying, which was actually just forcing chakra out of every tenketsu and having it push against the air. Since he had no training plan for his brother today, Kratos had allowed his brother to sleep in, waking him at noon, and taking him out to the training grounds. Naruto had been worried constantly that he wasn't improving fast enough, and Kratos intended to reveal to Naruto the extent of his improvement. Naruto, today I am going to allow you to spar me without your weights and seals. I really want you to know how far you've come. You're welcome to use anything we've taught you that you feel necessary, just don't hurt him too bad. Kratos said. Are you sure? Naruto asked, surprised that Kratos would allow Naruto relief from the weights, which now weighed around 2 tons, as well as the gravity seals, which had reached a multiplication factor of x12. This rapid increase was entirely due to the special formula. Very. Off with them, Kratos said. And the other restraints? Naruto asked, as he deactivated his seals and weights. No, those stay on. I will fight with all my restraints, mostly because if I don't I would damage you too much. Kratos said. Naruto finished removing all of his extra weight, and he felt like liquid. His movement was incredibly quick, and in conjunction with all of the styles he knew, he would be unstoppable in the exam. The spar began with Kratos taking a defensive posture, since the idea of the fight was not for Naruto to realize his own improvement. Kratos actually underestimated that improvement, and Naruto slipped past his guard several times before Kratos caught on. Each of Naruto's teachers looked on with interest, all of whom had grown to really love the kid, who was so much like their leader, both in his philosophy and his ability to gain power. He fought well, applying everything he knew. When Kratos had decided Naruto's ego was boosted enough, he stopped the fight. "I told you, little bro, you were ready. Kakashi called a meeting today to discuss some stuff. I think you might want to attend. You need to make sure that your team has your back, and they need to know you have theirs." Kratos said, "Tomorrow, I will have some presents for you. Till then, do what you want." Naruto put his weights on, reactivate the seals, and left. Naruto considered his option of attending or not, and decided it was for the better. He reasoned that Kakashi might be sharing some invaluable exam information, which was what he told Artemis when she asked why he chose to go. In truth, he wanted to show off his new look. Everyone who taught him demanded that his jumpsuit be eradicated. Instead, he wore Myrmidon armor, which, if you were wondering, is similar to Anbu armor, only there aren't any masks and shoulders are protected, and the under armor is leather, not cloth. His armor was black, and bore the owl on the front, the symbol Kratos had taken from his mother and given to his unit. Naruto and Kratos had the Kyuubi emblazoned on their armor as well, since they were the first two fox summoners. Naruto made his way to the Hokage Tower, wanting to tell the old man everything about his awesome new skills. "Oji-san, you won't believe how good I've gotten," Naruto shouted as he walked into the office. The Sandaime looked up from his piles of paperwork to see Naruto dressed in intimidating armor which he recognized immediately. "You're a Myrmidon?" Sandaime asked. "I'm still considered a trainee, but I have really improved," Naruto said happily. "I've learned a lot about fighting and other ninja stuff too. Despite my Nii-san being a complete sadist, he is a damn good teacher." Naruto said, "I look forward to watching you in the exams. I have watched the Myrmidons since they came in, and they really are incredible. They built their entire training complex in a matter of days, and they have made some major improvements to Konoha security. The report makes up about half of this damn paperwork," Sandaime said. He was going to continue, but Naruto interrupted. "Oji-san, have you considered using a kage bunshin? You get the knowledge, that was one secret to my improvement, so it's almost the same as you doing the work. Plus, in the event of an attack, it would be mistaken for you." "A perfect decoy," Naruto said. "Wow, quite the observation, Naruto really has changed." Sandaime thought, then spoke, "Naruto, that is an excellent idea. Even in my old age I can produce a few. No wonder your father went right through paperwork that must have been his secret. Now, I believe Kakashi-san is having a meeting in a bit. You should go, or are you planning to account for his usual tardiness and wait to attend?" "Nah, I think I'll show on time. I had to patch things up with my team. I really pissed them off before training," Naruto said, and then left the office to head to the forest clearing where the meeting was being held. Sasuke and Sakura were sitting at the clearing. Sakura had been unusually quiet during the meetings Kakashi had called to discuss their teamwork. She had been hurt by what Naruto said to her, even if she felt justified in defending her Sasuke-kun. Sasuke was busy brooding, thinking about his training. He had learned to use his Sharingan inside and out, and had even advanced both eyes to 2 tomos. The Dobi didn't have a prayer if they fought, at least that's what he thought. The two sat there by the bridge, not knowing that they were being watched by a certain blonde. "Hey Sasuke-kun, shouldn't Naruto be at these meetings, seeing as they're about teamwork? I mean, yeah, he's probably been training pretty hard, but so have we, and we still show up." Sakura said. "Who cares about that Dobi? He probably hasn't improved much." Sasuke said. "I really resent that," a voice called out from the trees. Naruto? That you?" Sakura asked. Sasuke was freaked out and looking around frantically because he couldn't figure out where it was coming from. "Sakura, that isn't the Dobi. He can't mask his presence at all, he isn't." Sasuke had more to add to his tirade of insults, until he saw Sakura look right above him sporting fish eyes. "You know, considering I've been right above you the entire time, you really shouldn't be talking about me not improving," Naruto said. Sasuke looked up to meet with the blue eyes of his teammate, who was suspended upside down and above his head. Sasuke just smirked. "So what? You're just using chakra to stick to a branch? How are you doing that?" Sasuke asked as he realized that they were in the center of the clearing. No branch reached that far. Naruto gently landed between his two teammates and spoke. Not really important, but I might teach you sometime. Anyway, I came to apologize. Sakura, I am really sorry about what I said a few weeks ago. I was dead tired, already very irritated, and I overreacted to what you said. Again, I am sorry. Accepted Naruto, but I need to apologize too. You really have improved. I can't believe you actually flew, that's incredible. Sakura said, feeling better than she had all month. She noticed that lack of the affectionate suffix that he usually used, but she didn't care all that much, given that she was still obsessed with Sasuke. Thanks, I can't really maintain it for too long yet since it takes a hell of a lot of concentration, but it's really fun and it's good exercise. Anyway, the second reason I came is really to make sure that in this exam we stick together. We have to cover each other's backs, you know? I found some techniques in the library at my new house that I thought you guys would like, and they are fairly easy but really useful. Sasuke, Sakura, catch. Naruto said, tossing Sasuke and Sakura a scroll each. Wow Dobi, these are pretty good power, don't take much chakra for Kaden techniques. Nice. Sasuke said, reading through the list of Kaden techniques. Sakura opened hers up after hearing Sasuke actually give Naruto recognition for something he did. Medical jutsu and genjutsu, I guess I have the control, but I am going to need to study human physiology for a few of the medical ones. But still, these are helpful. These genjutsu, these are really cool, never heard of them. Sakura said, my brother made a few, actually, and added them to the library. He actually managed to teach me genjutsu. Naruto said happily. You would make a good medic, what with your perfect control and all. Plus, you're really smart, so learning all about the human body shouldn't be too tough for you. Naruto continued. Team 7 sat for about another hour. Sakura and Sasuke noticed that Naruto had managed to stay calm and quiet for the most part, and both were happy that he actually dressed and acted more like a shinobi. After a long time, Kakashi finally showed up, pleased to see that Naruto attended this last meeting before the exam. Yo guys, I ran into this bear on the way here and it tried to touch my book, so I had to fight it, but it got its mate to help and they were pretty big and all. Kakashi said, but was interrupted by Naruto walking up and waking him over the head. With the amount of weight Naruto had on his arm, Kakashi was hit pretty hard. Ow, Naruto, how much weight do you have on you? That really hurts. Kakashi pouted like a baby. Don't like it, don't be late. And all I know is an ass load. These weights adjust automatically as my body adapts, so I don't really need to keep track. Ask Ni-san, Okawa-san, or Ophilo-san. They keep records for some reason. Naruto said. Right, whatever, now that the world stopped spinning, let's begin the meeting. You guys have definitely all improved. Sasuke under me, Naruto under his brother, and Sakura, you did really well improving yourself. I can feel the difference in your chakra stores. But you all need to remember that working together is a key component of being teammates. This test is not supposed to be taken as individuals, so if one of you ducks out, you all fail. I waited until now to reveal this because I need to be sure you are all determined to take the exam. I believe that if you put aside things like pride and favoritism you can pass this. That's all I had to say. You guys do me proud, alright? Kakashi said. Sir, his team responded. The next day, Naruto woke up early and headed for the academy building to meet up with his team to take the test. On the way, he encountered the Konohamaru Corp, who arrived in their usual method. Boss, can you play with us? Konohamaru asked. Sorry guys, but I have an exam to take. Naruto responded. Oh, the Chunin selection exam, maybe we can race there? Konohamaru said. Sure, I'll give you a head start. Naruto said, not wanting to use the energy, planning to let Konohamaru run his heart out while he set a nice, easy pace. The kids dashed off, and after turning a corner Naruto was going to go his own way, when he heard, oof, and Konohamaru yelling. He ran after them, finding a weird makeup-wearing guy with a bandaged lump on his back and a blonde girl with a fan. The makeup guy was holding Konohamaru above the ground, preparing to beat the poor kid up. Put the kid down. I would rather not have to hurt you. I'm guessing you are here for the exams? Any violence outside the test would be breaking the rules, you know. Naruto said. Yeah, Kankuro, put the kid down. So he ran into you, big deal. Put it in perspective, I'd rather not get in trouble and draw attention. The blonde girl said. Faye, you run along Tamari. I want to teach these idiotic Leaf Genin a lesson, Kankuro said. He was about to punch Konohamaru, but his fist was held firmly in place by Naruto, who had moved to grab the punch. At the same time, he felt a small pebbly hit him square on the forehead. Hey Sasuke, join the party. Kankuro, was it? I am warning you, put my friend down now, and let him be. Or my teammate and I are going to make it very difficult for you to take this exam. Naruto said. Sasuke just grunted and stared. Kankuro, do as the blonde one says. You are an embarrassment to our village, doing this. Do anything like this again, and I'll kill you. A voice from behind Sasuke said. Everyone looked over to the opposite branch of the tree, where a short red head stood. His eyes were black-ringed and he had the kanji for love on his forehead. Gaara, sorry, won't happen again. Kankuro said, fear on his face. Good, you two, what are your names? I am Sabaku no Gaara. Gaara said, getting down from the tree. I am Kazama Naruto. The one in the tree is Uchiha Sasuke. I look forward to seeing you in the exams. Brother, sister, let's go. Gaara said. He snuck up behind me without me even noticing at all. That stealth goes beyond Kakashi-sensei. He's good, Sasuke thought. Sasuke and Naruto left for the academy, meeting up with Sakura on the way. Upon arriving, they saw a huge group of people gather outside of what was apparently room 301. They approached, and Naruto scoffed about something. Sasuke was going to ask what it was, until he saw that there was a semi-circle around the door, and an older Konoha genin wearing the hideous green spandex was on the floor, beaten and bloody. Naruto immediately recognized the boy as Rock Lee, but his team didn't recognize him by name. There were two Chunin guarding the door, who had apparently dealt the damage, the first of which had a freak haircut and several bandages on his face. The second had a hite-8 that covered his entire head so that only a few stubbles of hair showed. Please, let my team and I enter. We need to take the exam. A girl with her hair in buns and a Chinese-style shirt said. One of the Chunin just punched her down. We're being kind. I and my partner here took the exam 3 times before we passed. It isn't easy, the first said. Yeah, we've seen people give up on being shinobi, get killed, and more. The second added. Most of the rookies had arrived at this point and were a little nervous. Naruto looked like he was going to laugh. Sasuke finally realized why and smirked. Drop the genjutsu, he said, plainly. Most of the gathered genin were thinking, what an idiot, there isn't a genjutsu. Sasuke simply continued speaking. Sakura, Naruto, you both noticed it, right? Sakura, your genjutsu is the best on the team, and Naruto, you trained with the Myrmidons. Did you really think this would slip by those two as well as an Uchiha? So, drop the illusion. Sasuke said. Sakura chose this moment to speak up, revealing how obvious the genjutsu was. After all, this is the second floor. Not really that great a genjutsu. Sakura said. The two Chunin looked at each other, then smiled. So you saw through a half-assed illusion. So, let's see if you can handle this. The first Chunin said, and then kicked at Sasuke with incredible speed. Sasuke brought his foot up to return the kick, but both opponents found their attacks in the hands of Rock Lee. Lee, what happened to the plan? It was your idea to fake our skill and not draw attention to ourselves. A pale-eyed boy spoke up. The girl from earlier started shaking her head, muttering, oh god damn it Lee. Lee looked at Sakura, released both attacks, and went into the nice guy pose that made Naruto cringe. Several times during his training, Guy and his mimic had tried to show up to reclaim the honor of their youth. Guy got his ass kicked every time, but each time he did that cursed pose and swore to win the next fight. The end result of which was that Naruto picked up Kratos' utter hatred for the pose. The only good thing to come out of it was that it revealed Naruto's talent for nicknames. Let's go out sometime, I'll protect you with my life, Lee said enthusiastically. Sakura just paled and thought, that outfit, that bowl cut, those eyebrows, and shuddered at the thought of being associated with the fashion disaster. It burned her eyes more so than Naruto's jumpsuit had. Hell no, she screamed. Yeah, fuzzy brows, get away from her, Naruto said. Sasuke had a twitch in his eye at having his kick intercepted so easily. Rock Lee looked over to the Imoteme, as Naruto had decided to call him, though he hadn't used the name yet. Your name is Uchiha Sasuke, right? I was wondering if you would like to have a warm-up fight before the exams. Rock Lee said. Fine, Sasuke said. They headed over to a nearby sparring area, and slipped into their respective stances. Naruto and Sakura stood at the sidelines. Sakura was busy cheering Sasuke on, telling him to mutilate the eyebrow freak. Naruto simply sat, and analyzed the possible outcomes of the fight as he was trained to do for practice. He thought for a short while, and announced his conclusion to Sakura. You should stop cheering. Emo Teme doesn't know what he's in for. Naruto said. Don't call Sasuke-kun that. And what do you mean, no one can beat an Uchiha? Besides, you don't know that Sasuke finally got it. His Sharingan. Sakura responded. Sharingan or not, he's going to lose. Naruto said. Sakura just scoffed and continued cheering. Lee and Sasuke were busy with a little pre-fight conversation. Knowing the Uchiha name and still challenging me, you're an idiot. Sasuke said. We'll see. I am going to prove that hard work beats genius, right here. Lee said. With that, Lee simply smiled and attacked. Sasuke barely saw the attack, and it came so fast he couldn't dodge it. Crap, had to block, he thought as he put his arm in position. The attack just slipped under it and hit him very hard. What the, how did you get past my guard? Ninjutsu, Genjutsu, I don't care, these eyes will reveal it. Sasuke said, revealing his Sharingan eyes. Those eyes won't help you. Lee said before attacking again, and the same result repeated itself. Sasuke could see the attack perfectly, but his body couldn't keep up. Impossible, Sasuke said. I see you understand. My moves are neither ninjutsu nor genjutsu. They are simple taijutsu. The Sharingan can see through ninjutsu and genjutsu, and makes the latter useless for the most part. For taijutsu, it's a little different. You can see my movement fine, but your body has to be able to keep up for it to matter. You can't, so you don't have a chance. Lee said. Sasuke was visibly pissed now, and launched into an attack. Lee got under it and launched Sasuke into the air with a kick. Lee jumped up under Sasuke and his bandages started to come undone. I'll prove it, that hard work will defeat genius any day. Lee said as the bandages further extended. Before Lee could finish what Naruto knew would be a devastating move, a pinwheel hit the bandages, pinning them to the wall. Lee landed, and had a look of astonishment and fear on his face. You were watching? Lee said. Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke all looked in the direction he was speaking and saw a red tortoise. Yes, you know that technique is forbidden. Are you ready for your punishment? The tortoise said. It can talk? Team 7 thought collectively. Lee gulped, paled, then responded with a shaky, yes. On top of the turtle there was a puff of smoke, and the elder fuzzy brows stood on the shell in a pose that made Naruto flinch. Guy reared back and smacked Lee into the wall. Then the two started hugging, screaming about the springtime of youth. Naruto was trying to blind himself with his Hite 8 while Sakura and Sasuke just stared. The strange genjutsu, the spandex, the screaming, it was a sensory overload of the worst kind. I lost, to these freaks? Sasuke thought. So disgusting, were Sakura's thoughts. Naruto was busy trying to repress any and all memory of the event. Guy looked over to them, and spoke. You are Kakashi's students, yes? People think of me and him as eternal rivals. Guy said. You, Kakashi's rival? I doubt that. Sasuke said. Guy simply used his speed to get behind Sasuke and tapped him on the back. The score's 51-50, my favor. He said, smiling. Then he looked at the blonde who had his Konoha Hite 8 over his head and his hands over his ears. He pried Naruto's hands off and yelled at him. Tell your brother I will defeat him. Sure, just leave me alone. Naruto said, shuddering. Guy and Lee then ran off to do some laps before it was time to take the exam. Seeing they only had 30 minutes, Team 7 headed off to room 301 for the second time. Sasuke and Naruto were thinking about how fun it was going to be, while Sakura, walking behind them, was worried. What if I can't keep up? Back at the Kazama compound, Kratos was meditating in the garden. Athena watched him, wondering if she should reveal her really did not want to worry her son, but she firmly believed that she had to prepare him and herself for the worse, since there were several parts of the vision she thought she had pegged. She suspected he was the hawk, as he resembled so many qualities associated with it. He was fierce, a free spirit if there ever was one, and in battle, a majestic fighter. The snake was probably a human planning the downfall of Konoha, or at least one planning to do something devious at the most general level. The bloody axes were a symbol she knew well. They were the symbol of a true sociopath, Ares. The green fire clearly represented Hades' involvement. The only thing she was uncertain of were the shadows, but she had a theory, one which chilled even her to the bone. She decided it was best to tell him her interpretation, and interrupted her son's meditations. "Kratos, trying to find another way, I see," she said. "Yeah, I can't have Naruto losing it like I did the first time. Even though I can control him, I don't want him to kill like I did. He doesn't deserve that memory." Kratos said, "I hope you succeed in this. However, there is a slightly more pressing matter. I had a vision," she said. "So? That happens fairly often. You do have the highest form of the eye after all, being its origin. Not one of the usual kinds. This one concerns me," she said. She proceeded to tell Kratos her vision. Afterward, he stared at her, clearly wanting to know what she thought it meant. "I believe this village has a rough period set for it. I see war, betrayal, and death. Kratos, that hawk, I think it represents you. I should warn you, you have some role to play in this, one that will be important, but I fear it will bring about your death, like Achilles before you," she said gravely. "Damn, you know how to kill the mood, you know that? You know better than I that those damn fates have been wrong before about me. I think I can duck death once or twice more," Kratos said, smiling. Inside, he wasn't so optimistic. "If I die now, all those souls, I would never be able to atone for them," he thought. Meanwhile, Team 7 was waiting to start the first exam. They were talking with the other rookies, all of whom were slightly shocked at Naruto's change in appearance and attitude. He wasn't yelling or screaming about how he would beat the crap out of everyone. Instead, he responded quietly to anything that was said to him. "Hey, Naruto, you think that a new look makes you any better? I'm still going to kick you ass," Kiba said. Naruto simply stared. Kiba was about to get angry before Hinata spoke up. "Naruto-kun, Kiba didn't mean it that way," Hinata said, stuttering all the way. "Naruto-kun has changed. How strong is he now?" she thought to herself, blushing. "Hey, you guys should really be quiet. The genin here are pretty nervous, you are only agitating them," a white-haired boy with glasses said. "My name is Kabuto. You're all rookies, right?" "Yeah, what try are you on?" Sakura asked. "7th. You could say I know this test inside and out, and I still can't pass it. Let me share some info with you cute rookies, maybe it'll help," he said, pulling out a deck of cards. "These are my nin info cards. I infuse them with my chakra to put information on them, and I just use some of my chakra to reveal that information later." Kabuto continued. He explained the information regarding the villages. Some of the rookies felt a little inferior, although Kiba, Naruto, Sasuke, Shikamaru, and Shino didn't have any worries. Sasuke wasn't concerned with most of them, he was worried about some specific nins. "Do you have any info on specific shinobi?" Sasuke asked. "Yes, just tell me who want the information on," Kabuto said. "Rock Lee, Uzumaki Naruto, and Sabaku no Gaara," he said. Naruto smirked a little at hearing his former name being said. It meant he was considered a threat, which made him happy to hear. He may not be showing it, but he was really the same inside. "Yes, he is worried about me. Thank you Seth for the intimidation lessons," Naruto thought, remembering that it was Seth who taught him the value of looking powerful. Outwardly, he was just beaming. "You know their names, good. Makes things easy. Anyway, first up, Rock Lee. He has no talent for ninjutsu or genjutsu, but his taijutsu is off the charts. He is a pretty talented genin apparently. His mission stats are 20D rank and 12C rank. Next, Sabaku no Gaara. Holy crap, this kid's good, he returned from all of his missions without a scratch. His abilities are largely unknown because him and his team are new to the exams, and they're foreign. Finally, Uzumaki Naruto. Kabuto said, looking for the last card. Don't have an Uzumaki here, but there is a Kazama. That the one? Kabuto said. Yeah, Naruto, when did you change your name? Sasuke said. Oji-san and Ni-san did it after I found out my family name. Naruto responded. Right, anyway, your teammate here used to have fairly average abilities, nothing special. Apparently though, his brother put him through 4 weeks of hell and now I don't have a clue as to what he's capable of. His brother is the commander of Konoha's new military unit however, so I imagine that his stats have improved significantly. In cases like this, I advise you to forget any prior notions regarding said individual. If I don't have the info, it means he's hiding it for some reason. His mission stats are pretty impressive, 20D, and a C that apparently jumped up to an A- rank, so it's counted as both. Kabuto said. Dobi, how good have you gotten? Sasuke thought. At the front of the room, Ibiki and his examiners poofed in. Everyone, quiet. I am Morino Ibiki, first examiner. You are all, from this point on, taking the Chunin selection exam. No violence is permitted unless otherwise directed, and doing so will result in immediate failure. Each of you will be given a number which corresponds to a seat. Sit down, shut up, and I'll explain the first test. He said. He had a commanding air about him. Naruto noticed a glint in his eyes that he recognized pretty quickly. He's like Seth, a tormentor. Most of the examinees here are screwed. He's going to play hell with our minds. I never thought that psychopath would be so helpful, but damn, he is really saving my ass a lot so far. Naruto thought. Naruto got number 42 and went to his seat. After being seated, Ibiki began his explanation. While Ibiki was explaining the rules, Sakura was indulging in her worries. Written tests weren't a problem for her and Sasuke, but Naruto had always been horrible at them. She hoped her and Sasuke could cover for him. Also, if one of your teammates gets a 0, the entire team fails. Ibiki said. Naruto felt minor killing intent directed at him and knew why. He simply turned around and looked to where Sakura and Sasuke were seated and smiled, adjusting his forehead protector. That's all the rules. Let me just say, during this test, act like a good shinobi, or fail. Begin, Ibiki said. All the genin flipped their tests over. Several instantly panicked. Sakura started writing down answers. Naruto gave the test a once-over, and raised an eyebrow. Ibiki noticed this and decided maybe the kid needed to go to the bathroom or something. Something wrong number 42? He said. You guys gave me the wrong test, I'm pretty sure. Naruto said. What's wrong, midget? Test too hard? One examiner said. Hardly. These questions are too damn easy. Get me a harder test. Naruto demanded. Everyone who knew him was both in shock and sweat dropping at the same time. The question on their minds was, how in hell can he change so much, and yet not at all? Regardless, Naruto had his mother to thank for his ability to deal with the test. His mother was a hell of a teacher, and in 4 weeks' time had managed to bring Naruto up to speed on high-level mathematics, physics, cryptography, and number of other fields. His mother managed this incredible feat by actually hard-coding the knowledge into his brain, and then educating him in his sleep inside of his mind. Naruto now had the knowledge to back his surprising intellect. Kid, let me see that. Ibiki said, walking up and looking over the test. It was the right one. You got the right test. He said, before leaving. Naruto shrugged and started writing. He was done in all of 20 minutes, earning him the stares of everyone in the class, Sakura and Sasuke included. Sasuke wasn't doing so out of shock, he was copying everything Naruto did. Smart Naruto. You adjusted your forehead protector to flash me a Morse code message. You really have gotten good, a worthy rival. Sasuke thought, surprised that Naruto had figured out the test, and already knew the answers without cheating. Sakura was just shocked. She kept working, taking about 35 minutes total to finish. She couldn't believe that it had taken her longer than the dead last of the class. After the test, she didn't have much to think about, so she tried to figure out how he got so damn smart. I doubt Kratos could make such a dense moron so damn smart. Maybe it was his mom. Apparently she is a goddess. Hell, it is an act of God. Maybe I should get her to tutor me a little. Sakura thought. Several teams failed before the 10th question was called. After a very long time, Ibiki finally told everyone that it was time to take the 10th question. There are some special rules for this one. It's a question of desperation. First off, you have to decide whether or not you want to take it. If you don't, you fail. Ibiki said. What the hell kind of question is that? Of course we'll take it. A girl said whom Naruto recognized as one of Gaara's teammates. He was fairly sure her name was Tamari. Ah, but you see, there is a special condition for this question. If you choose to take it, and get it wrong, you'll be barred from taking the Chunin exam again. This cannot be revoked, and is permanent. Ibiki said. Mind games, I freaking knew it. I hope Sakura knows Morse code. Naruto thought before using the reflections from his forehead protector to flash his teammate a message, which, when deciphered was, "The sadist is playing mind games." Take the question. Sasuke got it no problem, although in his case it was unnecessary. Sakura, however, had little confidence in her ability as a kunoichi, and might decide to duck out before it got to the point where she would get hurt. A smart move, but Naruto knew better. He remembered an instance where Kratos had discussed with him the fact that most people were better than they knew after Naruto raised his concern. Flashback. Nissan, if I am going to take this exam, I am pretty sure I would have to do it as a team of 3. Kakashi-sensei told us on the first day that there was a reason we were teams. The problem is that Sakura, she just can't seem to bring herself to my and Sasuke Tami's level. I know she's a good kunoichi. She's really smart and has incredible control, so why can't she get much better? Naruto asked his brother. You always have good questions, it's a shame nobody ever bothered to help you with them before now. You have to understand that most people don't really know what they are truly capable of. You and I have to understand that, because if we don't, it's too easy for our bloodline to take control and drive us to madness. Kratos said, noticeably pausing at the end. But you have a way of getting people to find what they are looking for. It's a hell of a quality, you know that. You'll help your teammate find her path, don't worry. But I can offer some advice. She sounds like a good support shinobi. Her being a kunoichi does somewhat limit her ability in hand-to-hand combat without significantly building onto her skeletal and muscle structures, since she wasn't born with a naturally sturdier build. Granted, it doesn't bar her from becoming an incredible fighter, but it would be really difficult, and she probably would not measure up to someone born with a naturally denser body. It's just that those who have applied usually apply for the wrong fields. Maybe that's Sakura's problem. Try to get her into medical stuff and genjutsu, and she could become pretty powerful. I met someone like that once, apparently a senin from Konoha, Tsunade I think. She used her control to give her strength on my level, which, considering she isn't a demigod, is incredible. But that is only part of the problem. She really doesn't believe she can get any better. That, and the fact that she never trains because she is always watching Sasuke, really hamper her. Well, that is something you can help her with more so than I show off a little in the exam. Maybe you can convince her to ask you for help over the emo boy. Kratos said. End flashback. Sakura got the message this time, and decided that it might be a good idea to trust the blonde. She was beating herself up mentally, but she figured he knew what he was doing. Ibiki's rule had beckoned 2 questions from her mind, however. Bull. First off, there are returning examinees here who have failed before now. Second, how could you have that authority? Konoha can't force genin from other countries to never take the exams again. After all, they aren't always held here. Another smart ass. Just like that blonde kid, damn it, they ruin all the fun. Think fast, Ibiki or Anko will laugh at you later. Ibiki thought, a chibi version of Anko laughing at a crying chibi Ibiki, who was clutching a teddy bear for comfort. You guys had it tough, this is my first year as a proctor. And every foreign shinobi that is in this room can be here because their respective countries are in alliance or at the very least non-hostile to our own. As such, they have agreed to the examination methods that Konoha implements, just as we agreed to those of other countries when we send our shinobi to their exams. Ibiki said. Nice save, Ibiki, but I am going to. Naruto was going to finish his thought but took a few seconds to create a good evil laugh, wrecked this damn test. After a few more teams failed, Naruto started to shake. He was actually shaking with inner laughter. He knew that the sadistic examiner would hate him for what he was going to do. Sasuke was worried for a moment, and then assumed Naruto was just planning to show off. Sakura was a little more concerned, not sharing Sasuke's confidence. Maybe I should drop, I don't want him to fail just yet. Sakura thought. She was going to raise her hand when Naruto slammed his own onto the paper in front of him. You think some psychological bullcrap is going to scare me? Screw you. I ain't dropping out, so just ask your stupid question and stop trying to psyche us out. Naruto yelled. Crap, there goes the game? Anko's gonna make fun of me now, damn you kid? Ibiki thought, the chibi him now torturing Naruto instead of clutching his teddy. He looked around the room to the various chunin gathered. Each one nodded their approval, realizing that number 42 had just dispelled everyone's worries. Granted, most of the people who didn't know him thought he was some kind of genius, and even the ones that did were surprised, But Naruto had revealed the trick. The whole wait was just a mind game, and now that people knew it, it wasn't going to work. Especially not after the pink-haired one had pointed out that Konoha couldn't really bar them from taking another test. Sure, Ibiki had a nice cover, but it wasn't that strong. Ibiki simply sighed in defeat. I just know she's gonna laugh at me, Ibiki thought. Again picturing a laughing woman and himself whimpering in shame, clutching a cute little teddy bear for support. Alright, everyone who is still here. Ibiki began, his face taking a dark serious tone as he looked around. 72 people, damn it. You all pass, he said, suddenly smiling. Half of the class sweat dropped, seeing him go from someone who could stare down death to Mr. Sunshine. The other half was pissed. What? But what about the 10th question? Sakura asked. You could say that was the 10th question. I think Blondie gets it. Ibiki said, pointing to Naruto. You've been around torture specialists before, huh? Yep. I'll give you the guy's name, you get along. Anyway, the point of the question is the take or don't take decision. If you don't take it, you fail, and your teammates hate you. Whereas if you do and get it wrong, not only will you fail and your teammates will hate you anyway, you become a genin forever. In real life, this would be kind of like. Naruto paused for a moment, trying to think of what to say. Whether or not you eat. If you eat, you might get a stomach ache. If you don't eventually, you die, after getting a stomach ache. You don't really have a choice. Naruto said happily. The entire room sweat dropped, although Choji nodded, understanding the analogy perfectly, as horrible as it was. Ibiki just stared. Not quite the way I would have put it. A Chunin has to make decisions for his team, you see. Blondie here put it in a day-to-day situation. Let us put it into shinobi context. You are given a mission to infiltrate an enemy compound to retrieve data regarding the blueprints of the base. You don't know how many enemies there are, their skill levels, guard patterns, etc. The mission is clearly dangerous, but it would be a great boon to the village's success if the information proves to be good. Do you decline the mission simply because it's dangerous? No. As Chunin, you will face these decisions, and these situations regularly. If you can't manage to choose to take a simple test simply because of a small consequence like not being able to take the exam again, then you don't deserve to be a Chunin, because people like that, they can't withstand something like this. Ibiki said, removing his Hite-8, revealing his head. Several genin threw up. His head was covered in scars made from a multitude of torture devices. Blades, screw holes, burns from acid, fire, and even ice were all represented by one scar or another. He looked like something out of a scary movie with his head exposed. Holy shit, was all Naruto could say. At that point, a black ball smashed into the window and revealed a giant black tapestry, which read, Second Examiner, Mitarashi Anko. A purple-haired woman stood in front of the message and looked around. 72 people? Ibiki, what the hell, that's so pathetic. Anko said, starting to giggle. We just have some good people, please don't laugh at me. He said the last part quietly, while one of his hands clutched a teddy bear inside of his trench coat pocket. Anko was laughing up a storm, but stopped after a little while to get back to business. Alright, whatever, I'm the second examiner, so follow me. Let's go, she said happily. I like her, she's energetic. Naruto thought, while the rest of the Rookie 9 instantly hated her for reminding them of the blonde power plant. The genin followed her to their second test, wondering what to expect. Morino Ibiki was collecting the tests, intending to evaluate their information-gathering skills for the records. When he reached Naruto's paper, he stopped for a moment. Jesus, these answers are better than the ones we gave our Chunin, and he knew the point of the test. That kid was trained by the Myrmidons, they must be damn good at what they do. He thought as he gave it a once-over. On the back, he found a small note written to him. Dear Sadistic Examiner, you did good with the mind games, but I was tempered against that from a full-fledged psycho. After spending some time with this guy, you don't get scared by much. His name is Seth, ask OG-san for the directions to the Myrmidon Torture Division, and ask for him. He'll probably show up right behind you, so watch it. Like I said, you two would like each other. From Naruto.
That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, share and do comments.